All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to YAMMA Talk Live. This is Thinker St. James, joined once again with the Ohioan, the creative player, Chase Parton. How you doing, brother?
Bro, always a blessing to be here. I swear, it's
Great to
such a
be
good
back
time.
with you, bro.
All right.
One thing I wanted to start off with, just off rip, uh, did we pick the worst picks or the worst picks? Like, were we completely washed out, or were we just slightly fraud checked to the point of crawling off into a cave and never commenting on MMA again?
Yeah, we'll talk about the cave dweller here in a little bit, but yeah, and then the other guy, fuck, we got a lot to talk about with that one, I guess. But
I just
the
know
other
that there
other
were a
than
couple.
other than two, I think there was two that we obviously fucked up on, but everybody else, man, I was almost to a T on them. I got the decisions. I know that's a cop out to give decisions to fucking people, but it happened, and I got a lot right. So
Well, and we'll talk about it, but I think that there were a couple of questionable decisions in there that I think did end up going the way of the predictions. So, all's well that ends well on that front. But,
right.
we'll jump into it in a little bit.
Yeah,
I think I'm
I gotta look at
overstating
the
it a bit
stats.
too. Yeah, fair. I think I'm overstating it that we were like completely washed. And we did pretty decently. There are a couple of little snags here and there, but let's jump in. So starting off, this was UFC St. Louis. Overall impressions before we start. What'd you think of the card?
It started out again. When I have money down, there isn't a bad event. Like I can't tell you how
Feel you.
great UFC is when you have money down. So Veronica Hardy starting off was perfect because even though I knew she wasn't gonna get a finish, like she wasn't about to. I thought it was more likely she got her down and got like a sub or something. But overall card, it was a good time. That's all.
Yeah, I thought it delivered. One thing that I noticed, that I talked about on the live stream during the event, is that the St. Louis crowd showed out. Man, that was really nice to see. Good energy from the crowd from the very beginning. I said that from the very top of the bill. I was like, when they first started the broadcast, I'm like, man, these guys are really going nuts out there, and this is the first fight on the prelims, and they're already really making some noise.
Yeah, it's good that you noticed that because I definitely don't. That's nothing that I'm paying attention to yet with the crowds. Like when they talked about Brazil, I noticed that they darkened it. I noticed. Remember we talked about how
Yeah,
black the
yeah,
crowd was, but this time you saying it was a good crowd. That's good to hear. St.
for
Louis,
sure.
shout out them,
Yeah,
shout out everybody.
absolutely. Shout out to the Lou and a lot of hometown fighters getting some nice wins. That was also very nice to see as well.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, we'll jump in, but yeah, overall, I thought it was an event that delivered. I was happy with it, and some decent fights on it. All right, let's jump in. So,
Yeah.
Veronica Hardy, you mentioned overall impressions of the fight.
I mean, it's kind of like the same thing with Tracy Cortez. Like they're just not. They're never gonna be top competition.
Yeah,
But they're here to look good, and they'll show up on the first fight, and you'll sit down for it.
hey, Dan Hardy's gonna be coming after you, bro. You
He
better take
probably
your
will.
eyes
I've
off his
said a
girl.
couple different things about his ass, but it's cool. It's cool.
No, yeah. I mean, honestly, I thought it was a pretty good showing for Veronica Hardy. It was, it's like you said, she's that. Both of them really are kind of like at that sort of under elite level, but she could evolve into it. Perhaps she's still kind of early in her career, early-ish, early enough to that to be able to progress. But all of the fight IQ kind of stuff, the decision making. I thought she was doing pretty well with that. She got caught up in a couple of little exchanges that I thought were kind of stalematey. But when she was getting out and transitioning into like the next set of sequences, I was like, oh, okay, she's doing pretty good there. She's doing pretty good there. Like there were a couple of times where I was giving her some props. So I think it was a pretty decent showing against JJ Aldridge, who really you probably want to have a little bit of a better fight against. That would be the
Yeah.
criticism of it, but overall, not a bad look.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If she was somebody like you said, you brought up she's young, still improving. But like if she was somebody that's on the radar to look out for, she's probably finishing JJ Aldridge, like or Aldrich,
Yeah,
whatever.
you make a good point. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and I've seen JJ fight a couple of times, and she kind of is becoming one of those fighters that's like I don't want to call her a can. It's I don't want to be rude in that regard, of course, but like
I'll
she's
say it.
I mean, she's definitely one that I mean, like really what more of what that speaks to is that she needs to reflect on that assessment. You know what I mean? Like look at what the last couple of fights have been like for you, and like piece together why things are not clicking, where the shortcomings are, and for some reason it just doesn't seem like she's putting those dots together. So she's becoming one of those fighters that it's like, okay, you could either be like, she's gonna get to the point where they're gonna feed her to like a really up and coming person, you know, like there's gonna be some chick that comes in that's gonna really like be about her shit. Like there was oh, God, I try to bring these up, and the name is going to escape me now. But there was a Brazilian fighter who fought 2 cards ago, I believe it was, who had extremely nice jujitsu, and I was like, a fight. I think it might have been her debut.
Jacqueline Marine.
Yes, thank you very much, my
Buddy
man.
boy.
Absolutely, yes. Her jujitsu was phenomenal, and I was like, just thinking during this fight with JJ, I was like, if she went up against something like that, she would get smoked. So,
Yeah.
you know, she's in that territory now because 13-7. I mean, this is really, you know, the losses are starting to add up a little bit. She starts getting into those situations where they're going to either feed her to somebody really new and who's, you know, going to try to make a name off of it, or kind of continue to just be in this middle place where there's not really much of a progression either way. So I think it's really time for JJ to assess where she's at and you know, what her game plan is.
I'm actually confused and concerned on how she got 13 wins in the first place. I mean, and back to what you said, it's like she needs to reflect. I think she's at a point where it's like, you know, I just need to take fights to get paid. Like, I don't, I'm not, there's no like game planning to get a championship. Like, I mean, she kind of lost to some good people now that I look at it. Blanchfield and Lipsky.
Yeah, well, I mean, that, you know, you can always make the
Macy,
case. Yeah, you can
but
make the case that she's losing to you know, good competition or whatever. She beat Jillian Robertson. That's pretty impressive. But like, I mean, you know, when you start seeing this, when you start seeing the candy cane, you know what I mean, the stripes going on,
yeah.
it's there's somewhere there are faults, and that's really what needs to be addressed, you know, going forward, because it's like she was another one. Yeah, I mean, if you look this far back, she didn't even start with a crazy win streak, you know what I mean? She wasn't one of those that like surged with you know, a really nice like long win streak coming into the organization or anything. So it's yeah, it's looking a little spotty, and you very well could be right that that's the case with her, you know.
Yeah, and I'm actually, just side note, I'm actually very glad you brought up Jacqueline Amarine because
Oh yeah,
she's good. She is good.
absolutely.
Couldn't,
That was one.
couldn't
I'm
forget her
glad you
name.
remember yeah, thank you for reminding me, because I was like, I just saw that when I saw her jujitsu, the way that she was moving from position to position, doing the chain wrestling thing extremely nicely. I was just like, man, that's a name to keep an eye on. And that jujitsu can definitely give a problem to a lot of the higher level chicks who aren't as
Well,
skilled with getting out of those.
we'll,
You know,
it's not women's, but we'll talk about high level jujitsu here in a little bit with a
sure
fighting
thing. Yeah.
on these matchups. Oof.
Well, so anything else to say about these two, about Miss
Uh,
Hardy and Miss Aldridge?
you know, Veronica. Last thing I'll say is she can win fights. We see that, and she can look good doing it. So
Fair
yeah,
enough. All y'all are real hot on her. You know, I like I said, I guess Dan Hardy agrees. You know, I'm
yeah.
undecided. But no. I mean, I think that your initial assessment was probably correct. It, you know, kind of a little bit of a sleepy, you know, fight to start the card, but it wasn't like a terrible fight. It was just okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Next, your boy, your boy's boy.
Hell yeah, CJ coming through, man. You know, another nice performance for him. The chat on my side, you know, we got shout out to all of our UK friends. We got a couple of them, and you know, one of the homies in my chat is a UK dude who is riding heavy for Jake Hadley. Charles Johnson did the job, man. It looked exactly like that was really like a vintage Charles Johnson performance. He's one that he is about his shit, bro. Like, I mean, like he goes in there and he will get caught. We've seen him slip, but if he doesn't, that's the fight that you get. You know, it's unfortunate that it went to decision, because I would have liked to have seen a finish for him.
Yeah. See, this is one where not too sure on both of the people on their backgrounds, what they've done. And neither of them are like coming through, knocking people out, knocking them out the realm, or subbing them for that matter. So I thought the decision was a pretty solid guess on that one. But Charles did look pretty good, and that was a good bet on my end to say that Charles was going to win that, because he was styling it out. He kind of, trying to think. I don't want to make this call, but he kind of gave a little Bobby Green showing there. He was kind
Yeah,
of
I can
showing
see
out a
that.
little bit.
I can see that. Yeah, I mean, well, the thing with Charles is that he is one of those run and gun kind of guys. Like he has that sort of confidence that like he's gonna go in, and that's when his losses come, is when he just slips. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
goes in a little too confident. But I could definitely see the comparison, and doing it at flyweight, that's a pretty decent way to be if you can muscle around. You got to get
Right.
be careful of some of these more elite grapplers and whatnot, but. Yeah, I mean, he has that. I think that one of the things that was working to Charles's detriment was the fact that he was taking fights every goddamn week. He was like the flyweight Kevin Holland I was comparing him to.
Yeah.
So I think that if he takes a step back, maybe formulates a little bit more strategy on top of the the confidence that he has. He deserves the confidence; it's earned. But you also have to be careful. I mean, just got to be
You do have to have long. You do have to take camp and not just like show up fight to fight on short notice. Not short notice, but you got to be calculated sometimes if you want to move up the ranks.
That's exactly it. Is really the calculation. I think is the thing that he needs to just have in mind. Take one step back. Have it inside. You know what I mean? Always have the confidence.
Yeah.
You need that, of course. That's priority number one. Aside from the strategy, but the strategy, take that into consideration. Maybe take a little bit of a more measured approach, I guess you could call it. And I think that if he does that, it will start paying dividends in a little bit of a higher way. I mean, he's been around for a while. It's a little bit late to be, really just like getting those fundamentals, so to speak. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have fundamentals at like the ground level or anything. Obviously he does, but like,
right.
Just improving on those elements of your game if you want to be, moving up in the rankings and eventually get a number.
Yep, I get you.
Good win.
Yeah. Next fight. Okay, we could.
Are we calling this a robbery?
I didn't have money on this one because I had no clue about it. But this was the first of what I'll say. I don't know why this card had the four tallest people on the roster on this card. Let me just start with saying. So this was the first one, and the point I'll make is, while I do believe Billy Ray had a great game plan and did a lot of great things, I don't think like the size comparison of what he did should like add an extra oomph to his performance. Like you got to score it what it is, not like, oh well, the smaller guy got through and he did a lot on the taller guy compared to what the taller guy did to the smaller guy. I don't know if that maybe makes sense, but
yeah,
I think maybe it was scored right.
Well, all right, fair. I mean, look, in real time, it did seem that that Billy Ray was more active. I mean, Trey was able to navigate. I mean, this is a tough one. I probably have to rewatch it to get like to really do it by the numbers if you wanted to go that deep into it. But I mean, and also I might be I thinking back, I might be confusing this with a different fight that was a one that I thought was more of a robbery. Next fight being one of those, I think. But I thought that it was definitely a more spirited fight than I was anticipating, and one that was kind of crazy in the sense that both of them seemed to unload everything in round one. And then just like decided like, okay, we're really gonna throw down like I remember in watching the in real time, me and Vitz were watching saying like that felt like an entire fight in one round.
Right. No. And so that was a terrible decision. I mean, great for the audience, but like both on their parts because they were gassed so early, and it was one of those fights that's hard to score because of something like that. But I will say, Billy Ray was wearing the damage too, so it wasn't like I don't know. You can't really argue that point. Like he was getting the shots, he was taking the shots, and he was giving them. But I think if you scale it down to two equal sized people, would you think the same thing, or is it just kind of like an underdog kind of feeling?
That's fair. And also one thing that I want to make extremely clear is that I feel, and this is something that maybe we need to spearhead this, that there needs to be another term besides robbery. There needs to be something that is in between. It needs to be in between good decision and robbery, like in that middle area where it's like it's not a robbery, it's not like completely blatant, but at the same time, it's like You know what I mean? It's just like, it's questionable.
Was this one a split or unanimous? See, I mean, because that's actually the point that you make right there, is because oftentimes you see unanimous decisions to fights that are clearly not one sided, and and then they go down in the record books, and it's just it kind of throws a muck into what a person's what you look back on their legacy as, like, oh, he stomped him in a like, see, unanimous decision, the way that they score it doesn't like reflect how the fight actually came out. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. You know, it was, again, one that maybe was possibly closer than it felt, but I was just like, just sitting there. And I mean, and Trey Waters is a Florida guy, so I mean, you know, obviously I was you know,
Right.
I had a little bit of the torch going there, but you know, just point for point kind of thing, like, especially if it was going to go to decision, it just felt a little, you know, a little off.
I mean, you are correct. Trey Waters did get outstruck too. I didn't actually know that. I wasn't looking at the numbers.
Somebody had posted the full breakdown of the strikes in that fight. Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't realize that
Yeah.
Google even gave it to you. Yeah, so I mean, you know, it's, I mean, still, you know, I mean, the volume on both sides is definitely there. They were throwing. I mean, it was great. It ended up being a really, really entertaining fight just because of how much they were both going at it. But
Hey, bro.
yeah,
Hold
yeah,
on, bro. 1 second, bro.
yeah.
I think I actually left the dog. I think I left his ass outside. My bad.
Uh
Hold
oh.
on.
All right. Well, while Chase is go attending to the canine, yeah, I mean, really, the like I said, good performance from both sides. I think that Trey Waters has a lot of potential too. I think that he might want to work a little bit on the late stage cardio. Because it did, if I'm recalling correctly, it did seem that Billy Ray Goff had a little bit more in the tank later on. Um, but you know, I mean, you know, like I say,
The
what, you know.
doggo is safe, man. My
Okay,
bad
all
for
right,
yeah,
okay, all
ruining
right.
that. The dog. I mean, I forgot all about it. I thought he was upstairs barking. Hold
We
on,
were all very
Jesus.
concerned, bro. We are very concerned. You know, you get
Okay,
the
so yeah,
ASPCA on your ass. PETA's gonna be knocking you on your door.
looking at the numbers, maybe I wasn't as conscious to the fight at the time, but another thing I'll say is it doesn't give a good look to Billy Ray, because he went on Twitter right after the fight, started complaining that he won the fight, which, you know, that may or may not be the case. The people know the truth. And like you, and you're one of the people who think it is a robbery, so he doesn't really have to say that. And I don't think he should have. You know, you got to be professional. You know, whatever. But
Fair, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, yeah. I guess I can see merit on both sides of that argument. I don't know. It's not really a road that needs to be traveled right now, but yeah. I mean, in general, yeah. I mean, you're right. You're the overall point is right. It's. I mean, look, if it's that. If it's close enough to not get a unanimous decision, then you already have problems, first of all. Second of all, the people do know, right? I mean, like that,
yeah,
you know, but unfortunately, the record book shows differently now, and that's, you know, an unfortunate element to fighting in general. You know, the records do not
yep.
change. So, I mean, and like I said, I don't, not necessarily an out and out robbery, but whatever one step below a robbery is, you know, I would say that might be appropriate for that fight.
Yeah. All right, next one. All right, you got something to say about this, huh?
Well, this I thought was a pretty clear, like, I mean, I don't. Okay, let me take one step back.
Go ahead.
Vitz King thinks this is a very clear robbery. I
Okay.
think that this is a great fight to look at when it comes to the fundamentals of how you judge a fight, because in the first and pretty much half of the second round, Ricci was controlling pretty much the, you know, as far as control time goes, she was on top of it, right? But she wasn't doing much with it. She didn't
Right.
get into any you know, deep water situations. She didn't have her in any potential submission situations, anything like that. Anytime that they would break, they well, and actually one other point is in that first round, they were both trading strikes. They were striking pretty heavily, but neither of them were landing a lot. So it's like,
Right.
so if you look at it from a full fight perspective, you have 1.5 rounds where Ricci was controlling but not really doing too much with it, and then Tisha Pennington, in the end started to put the pieces together too little, too late. So fundamentally, as far as how you look at a fight and what you judge a fight by, Fitz King would say that was a robbery. Tisha Torres was more active, and when Ricci was in control, she wasn't doing shit with it, so fuck that. That would be his basic assessment of it. I posit the question to you. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
Looking at the numbers just like Google has, I mean, I'm not normally a person that Googles that like drools over the accuracy numbers. Like, oh, she, outstruck her she had 50% on her strikes or whatever compared to 39%. If the strikes are equal, okay, I'd look at that and okay, Tabitha Ricci was piecing her up kind of compared to what she was getting pieced.
Right.
231 strikes, you don't even land 100 of them. Whatever, but that's nonetheless because this is not really matterful in the women's MMA too much. Because, like you said, they weren't really fucking landing that much. Some interesting encounters and that, and I really wasn't even this one here, man. Like, I could go either way because I really didn't give a fuck too much. Like, nothing crazy was happening.
Yeah, it was a kind of a boring fight to begin, in general. But the numbers are an afterthought. You know what I mean? That's what the way I always look at the actual stats. Like, what actually happens in the fight is what goes into the decision. The on paper stuff can tell a different tale, but it doesn't equal up to the reality of the fight. I thought in the fight when we were watching it in real time that the number that because at one point they I think it was by the second round, I guess they were saying about the first round that Ricci had 30 head strikes, and I was like, no fucking way. Like, I don't know where they were getting the significant strike number from on that. Like, that it just seemed extremely over proported to me. Like, so right. Whenever I look at stats after the fact, because you'll see it all the time. Not necessarily a fight of this stature, but people talking about in like the discussion groups saying, "Oh, look at the numbers. How did this guy win? Look at the numbers." Well, this. It's like the numbers do not tell the tale of the fight. The fight tells the tale of the fight. So I don't think that really is what it comes down to. To me, it's really more about the control time in this one. And, it I think really comes down to where you value that, how the judges look at that. Because if just having control period can win you a fight, then yeah, I would say that was an accurate decision. But she wasn't doing shit with it.
Her not doing shit with it. I mean, the numbers, like if you go back to it, it says she attempted 10 takedowns, which I don't remember her doing that. That sounds like a lot of fucking takedowns compared to that, because most of it was just like up against the cage clinch work or like striking out of range. Most of it, like, I don't know. There was a little bit of ground if I remember, but I don't.
But that's
10 takedowns.
Yeah, but this is exactly my point. I think that these numbers are just inflated for some reason across the board, really. Like, I mean, they were both swinging early, but none of, really, you go back and watch that first round, it was a whole lot of swing. There was a lot of combos being thrown on both sides, so it looked, like there was a lot going on.
It looked really, it looked good. It looked nice.
But really, if the head movement is as nice, then you've got combos that are swinging into the fence. It's like, you're not actually putting any leather on. What the hell's the difference? So, yeah, I mean, again, I think that these numbers don't tell it in the slightest. And really, once the control element comes into play, there was just a lot of stalematy situations. So, I mean, if you want to look at the takedowns, they could say 10 attempted takedowns based on what? I mean, but so, like fundamental philosophy situation is jerking the body to the side counting as an attempted takedown. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
Because she wasn't rushing for double legs. You know, I mean, a lot of the time they were on the cage.
Yeah, I didn't see not many. If there was, I didn't see many double legs, single legs. I didn't.
No.
Yeah,
none
there
of
wasn't
that.
Nothing like that.
So yeah, I mean, so honestly, this one, I mean, I'm not mad at it because of the fact that that's what makes horse races kind of thing. The judges are going to have a different perspective. They should be using the criteria of the unified rules, but that's always questionable, as we often find.
Yeah, card to card switches out.
Card to card, commission to commission, very much so. And we're talking about the St. Louis governing body Not exactly one that has had a ton of fight experience in the big picture. We're not. If anytime you're outside of Nevada or California, you're always on somewhat questionable grounds. But I'm not going to go too deep into all of that. Point is that I do think that I'm not overly upset at it, but talk to Vitz King, he would have a completely different assessment. Say fuck all of that noise. Tisha Torres, took that fight strictly off of the activity and the desire to win.
There you go.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
take that for what it is.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing. This next fight, not a robbery.
Well, I mean, can you even call it a fight?
Yeah.
Wowzers.
Let me start out by saying this. Lightweight is a very hard division to be very active in. Terrence McKinney just hops in, hops out, and he's ready to fucking fight. But people are calling him really stupid. One, for that matter, for just being very active and not taking it as probably serious as he should. And two, he wasn't dumb for getting caught with his head kick. That was a monster move by fucking Esteban. Like, that combination, like, who would have seen that head kick coming?
Gorgeous.
Like, that is crazy.
It was so nice. I mean, like, it was one of those ones that you see it in sequence, like in real time. It's like it happens so fast, but then you see it in the slow motion. You see the sequence that leads up and how it's all set up and constructed, and just fireworks kind of deal, man. Yeah. Really, really impressive for Ribovics. Yeah. And I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say Terrence McKinney even did too. He was smiling when he got knocked out. He was laying up in his cage with a smile on his face after this head kick. And the Argentinians, man, I've said this and I'll say it on here just so it's out there. They will dance on your corpse, guys. They will do a little dance and they will go on about their day after they knock you out. Like, it is crazy.
So perhaps an Argentinian flag might be the next addition to the collection.
Well, we said that before the fight. They were like, someone in the chat was like, look, if he knocks him out, you got to get an Argentina flag. And I was like, come on now, guys. Terrence McKinney's obviously not going to get knocked out. And then here we go, man.
Hey. No, good look. I mean, so I think that we said it in the last stream. I've never been super high on Terrence McKinney. I think that he's shown some again, trying to be as polite about it as I can. I think he's shown some holes in the game. One that I think that I don't think I mentioned it, but if we had dug deeper into it, probably would have been just his defense in general. Sometimes can be a little spotty because he is one of those run and gun kind of dudes. He's another dude. I think that the stat, I think I saw it on Twitter, is that he hasn't gone past a first round in 5 fights or something. I mean, win or lose,
that's crazy.
So, I mean, you do the run and gun, you live by the run and gun, you die by the run and gun, right? So, I mean, that type of fighter, as far as, at least from a betting perspective, I'm always like, stay the fuck away from that. But yeah, I mean, I think that Esteban Ribovics really showed that he was doing his homework on how to handle that, and man, what a well-timed kick, dude. I mean, it really connected exactly as you want it to be. I mean, it didn't look, it looked like he was throwing with intention, but it didn't look like he was throwing with all that much effort. And I don't say that to say it was effortless as in it was easy. Yeah. It was easy only because he's nice.
Yeah, the technique on it was so crisp.
That's right. Correct.
The energy exuded was not. It was just second nature to him. That was instinctual. I'm gonna go bam, 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 high kick. He was ready for it.
That would be one of those. Actually, I think it was you that posted that clip of Mauricio Rufy recently doing all those technique drills.
Yeah, that shit was dope. I'm not gonna lie, that shit was kind of scary how he was doing that shit exactly.
And the fact that he can pull it off in a fight is really impressive. The reason I bring that up though is I wouldn't be surprised if there is footage of Esteban Ribovics drilling that exact sequence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just was a really, really nice display of skill, and going to be interesting to see what happens to him now. I mean, where he ends up in all of this. I mean, 13-1. This is a great momentum to be riding out here.
Yeah, you beat a fan favorite, and I mean, honestly, you made a fan out of me, so I don't see why you don't have some propulsion into the rankings kind of deal. But We know he can knock people out with his kicks. I don't know about punches too much. Okay, he's actually won by punches. But point is, what's his wrestling like? Right hook to the ground strikes. That's a funny way to. What are what's his ground game like? What's his wrestling like? That's because that's big in this division, especially. Like he's
For
got to
sure.
go through wrestlers to get anywhere.
Absolutely, and we'll we'll talk a little bit later about somebody who showed a tremendous amount of striking acumen and then got fraud checked very very harsh. But so that all being said, bring that up just to say that you're right. I mean, it's not necessarily this fight specifically, not necessarily a grand skill showcase as far as all of the elements, which of course you have to have. But at least that one was showcased very nicely there. And coming off of a nice pair of wins, or a nice win before that,
Elvis
rather.
Brenner. That would have
I
been
know Elvis
that
Brenner
would have
dodged a
been
fucking bullet.
yeah. That's a tough one right there if he would have got it.
But yeah,
yeah,
I
no,
mean, contender series
something to
guy.
look out for.
Yeah, I would say contender series guy, coming in strong. You got a loss. Hey, that's growing pains early on in the career, but a nice start to hopefully something that could be be a nice little chain of wins coming up here. We'll see what happens.
Oh, actually, he fought on the John Jones and Cyril Gahn card. I probably watched him back then when he lost. That's actually interesting.
Yeah, and actually, I was looking at that, and the name that he lost to, Loic
Yeah, it didn't ring.
Radzhabov.
That doesn't ring the
Yeah,
bell either.
yeah, I would
Hmm.
say it wasn't one that immediately stuck out to me. So I mean, if it was a unanimous decision, maybe it was just a kind of a sleeper of a fight. I guess I have to go back and rewatch, go see if I can find it on Fight Pass. But yeah, I mean, again, early on in the career, it's that it's growing pains. I'm always okay with that being the case. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can have like it's not boxing. The O doesn't matter. It's really what matters is building on momentum when you have it and shoring up the holes in your game when you discover them. So
Yeah.
whatever he found in that fight, hopefully he fixed it, and 2 wins now. See where he goes from there.
All right, well, man, this next one, Jesus fuck. I just
Well,
looked at the numbers. I looked at the numbers, man, and I actually didn't know because I saw it in the middle of the match. It was like, Chase Hooper 64 to 2 strikes. I didn't know at that point he did not get another strike. So how did he finish with 2 strikes compared to 129? Like Borshev, man, I was riding. I'm not gonna say like I was riding on you. I thought it was more likely that you were gonna do Chase Hooper on the feet than Chase Hooper was gonna turn into fucking Charles Oliveira. What the fuck? Oh my god.
yeah,
And okay, and and I'll say one more thing before I let you go.
sure.
The hook, the slow ass lob of a hook that he caught Borshev with, just wow. Like I can't believe Borshev dropped so bad off that shit. Dropped like a sack of potatoes. Like wow.
Yo, in real time watching it, it was like it looked like I mean, it was you could tell it was well placed. You could tell it was on the location wise where it needed to be. It did not look like it was going to do all of that. That turned into
I
such a
know.
sequence. Holy shit! The fact that he survived that first round is insanity. But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
well,
yeah, go ahead.
no, so like you were saying, to counter on that, Chase, it did not look like it was gonna do something because Chase was doing this weird ass fucking. He was just throwing a punch, throwing a hook, and then just like spinning around, and like so he was just doing shit. Kind of looked like John Jones when he came back for Cyril Gahn. He just had no confidence that Borishev was gonna do anything to him, and he was just gonna go out, fuck around, and drop dude, and then wrestle fucking into submission, which we'll get into that point, but that first round, Jesus, could have been stopped. Probably should have been stopped.
Yeah,
And
I
then the
did.
the
Well,
triangle,
oh yeah,
holy shit! The inverted triangle and the toe hold. It,
yeah.
one
It
of the
was a
performances of
crazy.
the ages.
Yeah, the whole sequence of everything was crazy because that is actually a point I probably should have brought up earlier when we were talking about just overall impressions of the event. That there were a couple of times where the refs were letting things go they were being pretty lenient, and I'm not necessarily one to to be like, oh, stop the fight, stop the fight, stop the fight. I want I always want the fighters to have as much of a chance as they can to get, to come back, to get the win if they can get it, rally and all that kind of stuff. But there were a couple of times when a couple of guys were in some real desperation situations and they were just letting it go. So this whole fight, like, this was really, I think I saw somebody post a post about this fight after the fact, saying that this looks like the version of Chase Hooper that we were promised early on. Because Chase Hooper came into the organization mad young. I mean, he was, like him and his little fro, the mini Ben Askren back in the day. He was like, it was like he was kind of like the like Ben Askren's sidekick almost in a way. Like is right. What it they were kind of billing him as. It was like there's Ben Askren and then little Chase Hooper. It was one of those types of things.
Dr. Evil and then Mini Me.
Yeah, exactly. So this really does seem like we're starting to see the evolution of Chase becoming the fighter that he's like kind of built to be, and I mean this fight all around skill showcase for sure, but let it not be forgotten that he is coming off of a knockout before this. So I mean the kid is starting to really put the pieces together. The power is there now. I think that was also one of the things too, is that he was I think if I'm not mistaken, was he fighting lower? He might have been fighting lower before. If not, he was an undersized dude for his division.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is you could tell he was undersized when he got here. And, true to it, he was young as shit. So obviously, rightfully so. But now that he's like filled out his frame, when you see him do his walkout, Chase is huge, bro. Like he is big for the division.
Yeah, like, see, he was fighting featherweight, and he's doing the lightweight thing. So I mean,
he is big for and so like his skill that he had in grappling before. Okay, so he's a little undersized. He was a little scrappy, like with the wrestling. He would do like Imanari rolls and and roll with the leg locks or whatever. But now he just mauls because he's filled out. Like he can chain wrestle any position that you roll to. He's just gonna stay on top. Like he keeps a good base. I'll say this. So he's able to stay on his feet while he's over top of them. And like now, as you see, he gets to the ground and pound and he just is relentless with it. And he doesn't exude a lot of energy, which is the IQ part. Like he's just throwing them, knocking them around. He's not throwing everything. There was plenty of times where he could have taken Borshev's neck and choked him out, but he waited. I'm going to get him. I'm going to fuck him up some even more. Like, it was a real masterclass by
absolutely,
like Jesus Christ. It was good.
Everything 100%. All of what you're saying is exactly it. Because now that the power is equaling up to the skill that he's already had on the ground. Because he's been good on the ground for a minute, but that was a lot of what people were saying. Oh, this little, he's too small to be able to generate the power that he needs. He's putting the pieces together, and you are exactly right. The ground and pound, when it comes to the chain wrestling and what I always talk about with the sequence of events, going from one position to the next, working your way towards the finish, like he was doing everything right. It was such a masterful performance because, like you said, all of the ground and pound that he was peppering in there, I think that a lot of times he wasn't having to exude as much energy, not because, I mean, granted, it was partially because Borshev was just so fucking rocked. Put that in perspective. However, it was also for the fact that he was doing enough in all of the sequences up until that point, like, and in between as he was going to the next thing, that it was like, okay, this is what I'm doing right now. This is what I'm going to be doing. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't have to put all of my eggs in the ground and pound basket. I can take, do this for a little minute, take it to the next position, see if I can get something there. If that doesn't work out, what's the next thing after that? The fight IQ was very high. It was a really, really beautiful performance for Chase. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him progress even further, because I think that we're really starting to see a guy who has massive potential.
And to the end of the fight, Borshev, as I rewatch it, he didn't tap. And I will admit that he didn't tap, but he was saved because there was nothing he could do.
You don't think it was a legit tap?
No, he definitely didn't tap. He reached, but I think he was just trying to roll, turn with him, and he didn't. It was kind of hard to fully. But anyway, I don't think he fully tapped, but there was obviously nothing more he was going to be able to do in that fight. Chase had an answer for everything. And so when the fight odds first opened up, I'm pretty sure Chase Hooper was the underdog, which I should have put money down right then, because now I understand that this dude's he's here. So, I mean, actually, just to make a point real quick, it is not Chase the dream anymore. It's Chase the Nightmare, man. Jesus Christ.
Hey.
So he, whatever the fuck point I was going on about. Anyway, the Nightmare. Just end on that one. Just Chase is a fucking killer, man. Oh, he
Fair
didn't
enough.
tap. Yeah. So he didn't tap, and there was nothing more that Borshev was gonna be able to do because he was getting pieced up on the feet, and
Fair enough.
That's really about it on it.
I would push back on it a little bit. I think that even if it wasn't a full-on tap, it looked enough like a tap to be considered a tap. Like, I mean, you know, I don't fault the referee for that one, because looking at it back, I definitely, you know, look, the motion was there. And
Yeah.
the other thing too is that when it's not, when there's no extenuating circumstance to it, that's what I look for with that. Like if like, because there was the one time, actually it was Keith Peterson. I remember this one because I had it in mind. There's a slight chance that there might be a Keith Peterson video coming in the future at some point, possibly. Hopefully not. Hopefully Keith Peterson stays on the up and up. But there was a fight. It was a while back now. I mean, it was maybe like 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, something like that, where it was Keith Peterson. It was an Apex card, and he went to go check the wrist, and the dude. You remember what I'm talking about? Like,
I think I know what you're talking about.
He went to go check the wrist, and then because the guy, sorry if I hit the mic there.
He jerked his arm back.
Yeah, he pulled up, and it was one of those. Like, the guy instinctively pulled back, and he counted that as a tap. That was an unfortunate fuck up on his part for sure. There was nothing impeding his hand to do anything with it. So I mean, like, again, I can see why he protested it and everything. Yeah, you know, it wasn't a multiple tap situation, but you know, the contact was made, and as you said, he got saved. I mean, he was getting fucked, because the one point I was going to make as well is that from round 1 to round 2, Chase Hooper just went right the fuck back to work, bro. Yeah. It was like the round never ended, you know?
Yeah. To be honest, I think if it wouldn't have got a tap right there, it might have been a doctor stoppage. That shot on his head that he had.
That hematoma, bro.
That was
holy
really
shit. Dude, that was an egg and a half.
They never stopped Joanna when she was fighting and she had that fucked up shit.
Good point.
So maybe they wouldn't have, but I think that was more or less like, if he wouldn't have got saved by the ref right there, he probably would have just got more ground and pounded, and that shit probably would have looked really bad. Really
ended up looking like what's his name? We might have ended up looking like Rebecca, but we'll talk about that in a second. But no, yeah. I guess props to Borshev for the toughness. You know, I mean, like I guess I'll give him that little kernel there. But the fight with Nazim Sadikov, this was not. You know, what a very one-sided affair for Chase, and a great look. I mean, that's like, you know, you want to talk about like the fights that are going to categorize you as a level above. That's definitely going to be one of those. That's like, I mean, from bell to bell, just, you know, a complete one-sided affair that really showcased the full range and depth of his abilities and his fight IQ. Can't wait to see him fight again.
The last thing I'll note on Chase is if we are going to go with the assumption that this dude is up next. You know, this is future champ worthy right here. No meme shit. I know it's easy to meme Chase.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going to go ahead and say that he's, you know, on the way to some glorious level, like, I don't think it's impossible for him to move up to the next division too. Cause like I said, he's huge right now. Like, and he's still so young. Like, I don't know, bro. He's got size for the division, and it's going to be a problem with his grappling. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to move up. Be able is a different story. Obviously, he has to want to, and that would be goals of his. But
Chase at welterweight, bro, that would be something, huh? I don't know. I mean, it has potential for sure. I mean, because, you know, thinking about it like that, I mean, looking at the so like, okay, let's you know, just fantasy element here, but if he's knocking on the door of a number, which I would say that because he's coming off of 3 wins or 2 wins. Let me take a look at his record real quick. I think he's coming off of 3 wins right now. Little patchy in there, you know. He stumbled a little bit finding his footing. That's you know, fair enough. You know, a nice win over Jordan Levitt.
So since back to lightweight, he hasn't lost. That's
so
the point.
So fair. So I mean, so it's like if he is 1 or 2 fights outside of a number. Maybe I'd say that that's probably accurate, right? We can probably go with that as a basis. Where I mean, these guys though, I mean, in the top 15, I mean that on both sides really, but more so in lightweight. I mean, this is a murderer's row over here. How's he going to fare against some of this elite competition?
Honestly, I I don't think. Okay, I'm not the one to believe that Chase is like striking is up to par with a lot of these dudes now. But if we're gonna believe that it is, because I don't think that was a great representation against that dude. That
For
dude,
sure.
I don't know what
Yeah,
the fuck
yeah.
he was on.
It's
I
a
want to see
lucky
him up
shot
against a
could have
really
been,
good striker. I want to see him up against a good striker. Jalen Turner's a good option. I know that's kind of reaching a little bit, but that would be kind of cool. Like the height matchup would be really interesting for that division because Chase isn't. He's not 5'8". He's not 5'10". Like he's like 6'1", 6'2" kind of deal. Jalen Turner's not that much bigger.
Yeah, I mean, you could really pull the card and throw him to Bobby Green. You want a striker?
Yeah, that's true, but I don't know. I think I want to see Jalen Turner get wrestled again. I think because he fucked around with Moicano, and
Fucked around
now
and found out, yo.
yeah, now I got to figure out what's next for him. So I think that would be a good one. Just because the height, I think the height would be a good matchup. Even though I know you want to have differences in the fucking fight, but BSD or that's kind of scary. I'm trying to think of the less. I don't know. Jalen Turner's obviously scary for Chase.
Well, and that's
No
kind of my
ways.
point is that I
But
mean, like anytime that you're even approaching top 15, I mean, this is really where like the rubber meets the road. I mean, these guys
yeah,
are, I mean, you could possibly throw RDA in there and see what happens with that because RDA might be, kind of at that point where he's been so checkered, he's really on the tail end of his career, he's kind of just fighting to fight at this point. Maybe that might be a good kind of gatekeeper situation for Chase specifically. I mean, that might make sense, but. Yeah, I mean, any of these guys, I mean, shit, dude, you start getting up into Dan Hooker territory, and I mean, that's going to be, getting a little bit more competitive.
you make a great point. He needs to face a gatekeeper, like a specific gatekeeper of the division. Like it's not like we can. I don't think Jalen Turner works in that regard. Now that you bring it up, I don't think Jalen Turner works because he's somebody that needs to face a gatekeeper. So
I
we'll
mean,
throw
I'd
him in
say
there.
that,
Like that.
yeah, as of right now, I'd say RDA would probably be the best bet for that. And it pains me to say it. RDA is he's a long time fighter. He's he's put a lot on the line. He was elite, in his time, but it never all added up. And at this point, I mean, I talked about it in one of the recent YAMMA episodes. I mean, he is just red light, green light right now on as far as the record goes. So it might be that might be the best bet. So we'll see. I mean, I think Chase will probably need 1 or 2 more. I don't think that they're going to immediately like jump him up that high. Especially, I mean, you're talking about lightweight. It's such a competitive division. You've got so much going on at the top of it. I don't know if they're really going to be trying to rock the boat that heavily. I mean, maybe down towards the lower part of the top 15. The new blood will start creeping in there, but. I would think maybe 1 or 2, and we'll see what happens then. Because if he can rack up another win out on top of that 4-fight win streak, that's going to be numbers.
Yeah, I agree. Okay,
right
let's
on.
Move on from Chase. We talked a lot about
yeah,
him.
I say, yeah, and worth it though. I mean, because really, absolutely. All right, we got to do it. Go ahead.
All right, so motherfucking okay. So this.
I'm not happy. Okay, I just want to put that out there. I'm not happy.
Well, I'm not either because last episode you came out here and you're like, bro, this is exactly why you don't bet on Ohio. This is why you don't bet for Cincinnati is because shit like this happens. And then here goes Waldo playing for Cincinnati Reds, and he comes out here and stops the whole hype train that the UFC was Bro, Cuba was about to be the king of the world. Like, what the fuck? Like, he comes out here and he drops a nasty head kick. Which, granted, let me bring it up. Waldo ate a nasty front kick from fucking Rebellis in like the second round, and
he did, and he took that thing, man.
That was our hope right there. It went out the window. Rebellis, he's done, man. It ain't.
Oh, he's done. He's done.
It's gotta be. Well, okay. You see what you gotta do now. Like, I mean, somebody is not great as Waldo. Like, Waldo's not great. I'm sorry, but if Waldo can do that to you, where you just sit on the ground. Okay, his coach, by the way, sucks. The get up. get like that ain't helping, dog. He
Yeah.
clearly ain't getting up. He was still down. But God, Rebellis, like
You don't think he can shore up
we
the holes though?
probably, but like he's old, man. Like I don't know. Like if
Eh.
he didn't know that he was coming into an MMA matchup and could get wrestled, like I just don't see I don't see it there for him. And another thing is like I expected a generational athlete showing right there. You know, 6'7" Olympic medalist. I'm like, second round, no way he's gas. I don't care what wrestling he's doing. Like he's just built different. But no, like
Yeah.
he's built the same, my guy. Like I would have got gassed as quickly as him. Like that's the craziest part about it. Like it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
no, you're definitely right. I mean, when you say put it in those terms, you make a great point because you know, expecting generational athlete status out of him was kind of the mythos that was, you know, intended to be created, right? I mean, that was the hype that was being bought into. You know, he's 6'7", huge, the crazy wingspan, everything that you know, all of the facts on paper, the win streak, everything, all of the mythos, the mystique, so to speak, would speak to that. And to have the fraud checking happen as dramatically as it did, that's really the issue there. I mean, I don't know if I would go as far to say that he's done, that he's cooked completely. But I mean, it was not a good showing, and the holes are glaring now. I mean, really, like Waldo, like it wasn't even that hard of a game plan to put together, which I think was what made me so frustrated. You know what I mean? Like, because like you said, he was gassed like early in the second round. I mean, it wasn't even like, I mean, almost by the end of the first, he was breathing heavy. So it's
Yeah.
like,
And well, the fact to him breathing heavy is kind of crazy because he wasn't doing anything. He
right,
was on
right,
the bottom. Like so he was on the bottom and like, okay, having somebody lay on top of you is one thing when you're trying to advance the position and reverse it or whatever. But he's legit just laying there on his back. Like he wasn't moving. How are you exuding that much energy to where you're completely gassed, nothing left in the tank when they stand you up out the corner? Like
yeah. No,
it
well,
was bad.
and one thing that really bothered me too, talking about the tank and the stamina, was that once he started to fade, you could see the power leaving his strikes really quickly, and that was I think even more so than just the overall degradation of his stamina. That to me was the most telling because you know we'll talk about Derek Lewis here in a little bit. One thing that you can never say about Derek Lewis is that he's ever out completely. We've you know anytime you can always go back to the highlight where you know
Right.
he came back at that last second, got that knockout. He was still able to generate that power that late into the fight with that much energy expended. It did not seem that Rebellis de Spain could generate that power. He wasn't like it's like you said. The head kick because that was second round, I believe, right? I think that
Yeah,
was.
I
So
think.
yeah, so already into the second round, he threw a really nice head kick that connected, bro. That was your chance. Like if you know that you are already as faded as you have become, you only have a couple of chances. Like I remember saying it during the fight. There was a time where I think it might have been after a breakup where I was like, "This is your shot, bro. You already know what's going to happen on the other side. He's obviously figured you out as far as like what he needs to do. You go back to the ground, it's completely over. We know that. So now you need to shine. If there's anything left in there, you need to throw it now because this is the only shot that you're going to get." And he wasn't able to even generate the power that he needed for that, and that was really telling.
So I initially saw it right when he came into the UFC. His debut, he walked up, hands down, completely by his side. So as soon as he gassed, guess where his hands were? The same fucking spot. He had nowhere to go. And it's crazy because it wasn't like you saw Waldo shooting out of desperation. Like I cannot like I cannot stand with this guy. Waldo was
Facts.
inviting him over, and fucking big 6'7" guy, hands down, walks over. Not even like there was times where I'm thinking like, are you gonna punch? Like, are you gonna like, are you throwing something? Like, I know you're tired, but like he wants you to throw something. Like he's standing in front of you. He's not shooting your legs. You're not on the ground. Like, where's the attempt?
Yeah,
Where's where's the last bit of it? Like I don't know what happened. Where was
that's
the
yeah, that's exactly what I'm
no
talking
way
about.
that you come in thinking you're gonna knock everybody out in the 30 seconds like that. Okay, so that's what happens, and like you got to build the confidence on the crowd, but like you got to have a different game plan when that shit don't happen, man. Like,
That yeah,
god damn.
Yeah, that really. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the term fraud checking, but this really does feel like it's accurately applied. I mean, because you're exactly right. If you thought that you were going to come in and just be able to fucking put hands on every single person without any opposition, I mean, like it was after the first takedown and the amount of struggling he had in that sequence, I was like, this is bad news. Like just
Yeah.
off rip, because it wasn't that long into the fight. I mean, they were only trading for like a couple of strikes, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, if that. I mean, it wasn't like a huge prolonged amount of time where it was like this stalking back and forth, feeling each other out process. Waldo knew exactly what he needed to do and enacted his game plan to frustrating results to some people. A lot of people were not happy with his performance either, really. I mean, but did get the job done exactly how you needed to do it to get the win. I mean, so when I saw all of that from Rebellis, it was like, dude, like I don't know what you were thinking that like this was going to be like, but this is the UFC, brother.
Okay, let me actually make this point. And
Mm-hmm.
so Robellis is like he can knock people out and he's got the power. I mean, he may not have the technique with the hands. Okay, and he's also like a kicking guy. Like he's an Olympic kicker. Now that I do see that it is Taekwondo and not karate, I am thinking like, well, this is probably why Taekwondo is not a top tier martial arts. Is because this is what they would fucking do in the fight. It's like hands down. They don't mix in the punches. They don't mix in the kicks. Like they just do. He didn't really do shit. Like, and that's like the best. That's the best representation of the sport that we got in MMA right now. It's like that was your guy, the
Yeah.
bronze medalist, the Olympic guy coming into MMA from Taekwondo. He's the tallest. He got the longest reach. Like, how is he not supposed to decimate? I mean, like,
Yeah, and it really like I was hoping, and I think that because put the hype aside, I mean like I'll I try to be very measured when it comes to hype trains. You know what I mean? I'm very I try to key in to the all of the elements that create the hype train as to like what like actually goes into it. And I was hoping that those elements would be addressed in his training so that there weren't such glaring holes. You know what I mean? Because you're exactly right. I mean, the amount of just basic opposition that he was unable to counteract. It was like that should be drilled. If you know that your basis is in Taekwondo, if you know that your basis is in the ranged striking, then dude, like these, like again, shoring up the holes, filling the gaps. That's what you need to do in training. Unfortunately, a very bad look for Orlando, as he is a local guy, and pains me to say it, man. I was riding high on that aspect of it, or not that aspect of it, but I was riding high on him. Hoping that that it was going to be a nice showing, not only for him but for the the high quality training facilities that we have in Orlando. Sadly, I have to say that might be otherwise.
well, anyway, the next fight, my guy here,
Hey, Sean Woodson,
my guy
everybody.
here, the sniper. Which let me address this just first. I don't know how he got the sniper. Like, I get he's accurate, but he ain't got no power. Like, there is no type of punch power to this dude at all. Like, I the sniper rifle is a very heavy term to use for somebody who maybe doesn't really get that many knockouts. But I digress. I really do like Sean Woodson, and I knew he was going to get a decision. Like Alex Krasakis, great guy. Sorry, but you had to go down to my guy Sean, even though it may have people probably say a robbery and the
Oh
scorecard.
yeah, I thought that's why. I mean, that was going to be my immediate follow up to what you were saying. Is this was the robbery of the card, in my opinion. I mean, just based on the output later in the fight, I mean, Caceres was turning it on. I'm very surprised at this decision.
Looking at the Google numbers, I don't remember the strikes being that different. I could have swore they were a little closer, but this is obviously not round by round, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, again, another one that maybe there was more earlier that I wasn't considering, perhaps. But I mean, it just to me the ramp up of the fight, the way that the fight progressed over time, they were kind of, it seemed like they were somewhat neck and neck for a decent amount of it. Like it wasn't like there was a runaway on either side, but then towards the end it seemed like Caceres was really starting to put it together. He was also engaging more. He was the one that was advancing more, especially towards the end of the fight. He was, I think that he might have gotten that sense that he might have been down a little bit. And I think that that he did enough, in my opinion. It really, like, to me, when they read that decision, I was like, wow.
Yeah, see, and that's probably one of those ones. Again, it could go either way, and they probably gave it to the person who they want to push a little more. Give Alex Krasakis the gatekeeper territory. Twitch says all black, by the way. I don't know
Yeah,
why that's like that.
dude, Rage Quit, thank you for letting me know. I'm gonna have to look into Twitch. I don't know why it's having problems on when I'm doing it from home as opposed to over at Vitz's house. If you go over to YouTube, you should be able to see us on YouTube. Hopefully, YouTube is working right. It looked like it was, but
Yeah, but either way, so Sean Woodson, I think,
sorry, brother.
if you want to talk about robbery, it's probably one of those decisions. Or probably one of those decisions where Sean probably won the first 2 rounds. And yeah, you are right. Alex was turning it up towards the third, but 1 and 2 could go either way. And then probably judges gave 2-0 to those. And what I will say is Sean Woodson was mixing it up with the kicks a lot better than I remember him doing in his first fight. Like he was very boxing heavy, which is of course because he was an ex-boxer. But now that he's throwing in the kicks, now that he's got like so much more reach to his game, which obviously he already has because he's long as fucking hell. No Diddy, but Sean looks good. I'm excited to see more of him. I don't think it was that much of a robbery, but I had money on it, obviously. So
you want to put it in the category just below robbery, or are you just going to go good decision?
Just below robbery.
Okay, yeah. all right. I'll accept that. I mean, look, I'm not trying to dogpile on Woodson's performance by any means either. I mean, like it was a back and forth. I mean, they were going at it. It wasn't like it was a runaway by any stretch. I mean, I think that it's like you said, going round by round, maybe there's more of a case than I'm giving it for the first two. Perhaps, I'll accept that as well. But after, I just remember in the moment just being like, wow, that seemed very odd to me. But I mean, overall, a decent performance on both sides. I mean, I think that really Caceres still showing, because I think last time I had said, Caceres is one of these guys that is getting better with age. I'll walk that back a little bit. I'll say that Caceres is staying at a consistent level,
which is still pretty good. Like, I mean, it ain't
for 21 and 15. I would say so.
Yeah, he's pretty. I mean, 15 losses is kind of.
Well, of course, but I mean,
but
I mean, my point.
All fights like that where they're close enough where you can argue a robbery. Most of them, at least.
Well, 36 fights in general, kind of thing, is more what I was getting at. You know what I mean? For a 36 fight tenure, to be able to keep it up the way that he has been, that's Oh, thank you, Rage Quit. Much appreciated, man. Thank you for checking on that. And yeah, I'll have to figure out what's going on with that. Growing pains as always, man. It might be something to do with Google. It might be something to do with OBS. It might be something to do with any one of the number of components that we have to deal with getting this thing set up properly. But I appreciate you letting us know, and I will look into that. So thank you. And thank you for joining us on YouTube. Shout out to everybody who's watching on YouTube and any platform that you're actually getting the video. But yeah, so anyway, back to what we were getting at there, though. Yeah, I mean, I think that it was a good fight overall. And Caceres is one of those dudes that's just, I think is just going to kind of stick around in, fighting a fight sort of thing, right?
Yeah, no, I get you. I hope Sean's got a little more to him. Like, obviously, striking's there. But I do want to see him go against a real wrestler, because I don't think he's going to be taken down very easily. Like, I think if you throw him up, like, look at the weight class he's in. You got some good wrestlers to pick from who don't have to rely on their striking or whatever. Or good strikers who don't have to rely on their striking, I guess is more or less what I want to say. And they will wrestle with him. But I just don't see it happening. He's just got too much size for that division. It's going to be hard.
Big dude. I mean, we've probably talked about it. I think we talked about it last stream, how he used to fight heavyweight. How crazy is that?
Yeah, exactly. So he's got that Volk effect where it's like, I feel like, actually this is probably the opposite of Volk. I talk about Volk and I'm like, I feel like he's got the mass of a 200-pound man, you know, like, but it's condensed now, of course. Sean Woodson, I don't think he packs down the power as much of a heavyweight dude as, like, say, Volk does. Like, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's also going to be an interesting thing to see how that continues on for him. I mean, like, you know, the power didn't necessarily seem like it was overwhelming, and that's I think one thing that he's going to have to reconcile with when he is fighting at a higher level is that, you know, there are power strikers at featherweight that are going to be able to negate the peppering. You know what I mean? If he's throwing combos, the combos can be great, and you know you can add up. You know, over time you get a nice couple of you know, a couple strikes in there and stuff. You start wearing them down. You know, it can cumulatively affect the other fighter. However, you got guys that are going to be coming back with some really heavy power, and you know, Sean, he's you know, he's rangy. Like, he has the ability to stay rangy. You see that he's, you know, he keeps that wide stance. He, you know, he like. The entire fight, Vitz was saying how it was like a boxing match, just in the sense that they were really like staying at range, getting shots, going, you know, moving in and out.
Yeah.
He's got the fundamentals of all that down. However, that style is going to be able to be figured out pretty quickly by dudes who have been in there for a minute dealing with that exact kind of thing. So, you know, I think that really if he can stay within the relative weight area, like, you know, stay within the range of featherweight and put a little bit more emphasis on his power, drilling that a little bit harder, like get his power strikes a little bit more up to snuff, then it would serve him well.
This is maybe a bad comparison, but I want to say Sean Woodson, just because of the size difference, like, it's just a problem in smaller divisions. Like, Edson Barbosa is a good example. Like, he's just got size that is hard to fucking manage in those lower divisions. Like,
Sure.
The fact that he makes those weights, Sean is not obviously as cut up and fucking ripped as Edson, but like, he could be somebody that's a problem just because of the size that he presents. Jalen Turner is also one of those people. Like, the size that he presents for the division inherently is a fucking problem.
Yeah, it's true, but it's also figure outable. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that it's helpful to a point, and that's where I think that's that upper limit type of thing. It's like you have to be able to have that and also have the other elements as well, you know?
We'll see that with the co-main event, actually. So
absolutely. All right, well, let's we'll make our way a little bit farther up and get there in a minute. So this next fight, wow, what a crazy one this turned out to be, huh?
Yeah, Rebecca. Actually, I don't remember. Dang, it got finished. I don't remember it getting finished. That's
it did,
crazy,
yeah. Very late in the fight. Yeah. It was, 4:51. Yeah, it was very, very late, but yeah, it did end up getting called finally.
Yeah, no, he was beat the hell though. That's kind of crazy. Like that, Diego Ferreira, dude, might have to watch out for that dude, because I don't know though. I wouldn't even say Rebecca looked all that great. Like, maybe maybe in the first round he might have looked decent, like he was there, but no, yeah, he got beat the hell.
I mean, it looked like another case of a dude who, for whatever reason, I mean, you know, good from a fan perspective, he was throwing for the fucking fences early.
Yeah.
That was, you know, I mean, I think that to me, that's what kind of ended up being the breaker, because Diego was really just staying in there. He was aware of the motions, you know, he was keeping his focus really nicely composed, so he was letting him do all of the, you know, look, you want to start going in there and throwing it balls to the wall, go ahead. You know, it was one of those types of situations. Do it. Go. Have your fun. Then I'm going to go in there after you've gassed yourself out, which seemed to be a little bit of what happened. I mean, it wasn't like a complete gas out, but you could see it starting to fade even in the beginning of the second round, and he just went to work, man. I mean, he was still getting his shots in the first two, but you know, by the time that we were, you know, coming towards the later part of the second and into the third, it was just a completely different fight. I mean, you know, like you know, and fucking Ferreira is 39 years old.
Yeah,
this dude is
crazy.
killing it at that age. That is insanity to me, that he was able to do what he did at that age. You know, I mean, had his little you know, this little spat of losses here, but a win over Michael Johnson, it's a statement. I don't know exactly how you want to rank it, but to me, it's an impressive statement. I mean, yeah. You know, this is a really nice record for a dude who's been you know, throwing leather for a while. losses to Poirier and Dariush too. I mean, like these are good losses to have. I mean, are good competition to lose to rather.
He does finish or get finished. I'm seeing that looking at the record.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what that means in the big picture for him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's one of those types of situations where like, is there a run possible? I mean, 19-5, it's a decent enough record to make some kind of a case. 39 years old is a little late in the game for it. What are you thinking on that?
See, we have gatekeeper, and I know I throw that term out a lot, but like that's only specific to people who are kind of popular. Like you only become a gatekeeper when people want to see you fight the new up and coming guy.
Yeah, you think
I
Neil Magny
I
is
think
real popular?
I think people hate him and want to see him lose. So yeah, same with Anthony Smith. They want to see him lose, but this guy, it's like he's just kind of not a nobody. Of course, that's a horrible thing to say, but who do you want to match? He's not somebody who you make dream matchups about, like, and that goes for
I mean,
gatekeeper territory.
perhaps, well, I mean, fighting at lightweight, he could definitely be one of those dudes that if they start throwing some crazy competition at him, that there are some classics potentially, forming with that for sure. I mean, I think that would be accurate.
But I mean, but like you said, 39 years old, like the windows.
If it
ain't
heavy.
already closing, it's on its way.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough one, man. I never want to be the dude who gives in to that. I always want to. I want to believe. Like I've got that. I hold that hope out. But it was pretty much the exact conversation that was happening around Volk going into the Ilya fight. And, I mean, Volk is not even 39, but, he's past the 35. Right. 35 is that mark. That's the golden number, unfortunately, in MMA, where things just start to shift, whether you like it or not. And 39 is a lot of years past that. So, but still, I mean, an entertaining guy to watch. And, I wouldn't be mad if he racked up another couple of wins and, kind of stuck around and, in that sort of middling area. I mean, if he can put out performances like that, yeah,
true.
A good. I mean, it's like you said. If he is gatekeeper quality, whether or not the star power is there is another story. But if he's has that element to him, that that he can put on these kinds of performances and get taken out by guys who are really on the surge, then I think that it's a fine dude to have in that kind of a slot. You know what I mean? Like let it be, whether he's a name or not.
Well, I think maybe a more accurate one. If we are going to come into gatekeeper territory, talk for him. It's like Edson Barbosa. He's not really a popular guy, but he's somebody that you can throw in there for a 5-round or whatever, and he's going to give you a war to the upcoming guy, probably give you a finish or close to a finish and or beat finish. So, like, I could see something closer to that. Maybe Neil Magny's maybe a bad choice because that dude fucking
sucks. Hey, man, he beat Mike Malott.
Yeah, well, that honestly, that says a lot about that.
Yeah. Oh man, what a hey.
Speaking a lot about what something says about you, dude. Alonzo Menfield. Wow.
Cooked like, for good or what?
I don't know if it's cooked for good because I don't know much about him. I can tell you after this performance, it would look like to me that he had no idea what he was gonna do and said, "Fuck it, I guess I'll just go for it." I mean. And it did not fucking work. It did not work at all. And the names that he's beat and lost to, like they're not really anybody that I've ever known. So,
bro, a loss to William Knight is probably the absolute worst thing you can have on your record. I would say
he beat Paul Craig, so that's probably a good indication that Paul Craig is fucking bad, guys.
Well, look, I mean, you look at the the wins and losses here. It's not like he's had any like crazy staggers besides this little two spell here. Devin Clark and OSP. That's not crazy terrible. You know what I mean? Like as far as losses go, I mean OSP maybe you could make the case. Even by 2020 probably still a little bit past his his high water mark. But yeah, I mean a loss to William Knight. The draw with Jimmy Crute I think was a decent fight. Kind of unfortunate that it ended up being a draw, but then to lose to Jimmy Crute and then Dustin Jacoby. I mean these aren't like rather to beat Jimmy Crute, and then to to beat Dustin Jacoby. These are not exactly like names that are setting the world on fire. And Carlos Solberg just looked so freaking fresh from the gate. I mean, the fact that he was able to put on the amount of offense that he did, and that Menafield was caught as off guard as he was, I think was the more telling thing there. I was being a little bit jokey by saying Menafield's cooked. I don't think that he is. But I do think that he's probably going to just kind of also be one of those dudes that's sort of a little bit of a middler. That's just my assessment as of right now. We'll see if that changes. But Carlos Solberg really turning it up, and for Menafield not to have a game plan for that level of opposition early is, I think, the most telling thing of that fight.
Well, that's the exact reason that I would say, well, he's clearly not going to be like a top level guy. At least from that showing right there, you can't have hope that like, oh, he has game plans. He put things together. He's got the IQ. Like, okay, on the fly, what can I do to win a matchup or whatever? He clearly doesn't have that. Like, he just walked in and did some bullshit. Like, I can't tell you why he did that. It was really bad. Probably if there was a worse performance of the night, I actually think he probably got it. Yeah.
Even over Terrence McKinney?
Oh, actually, no, maybe not over Borshev. Borshev was pretty bad.
That would probably be the worst.
The
You know what?
two,
Yeah.
The other two, you can't really. They were so short. It's like the performance.
They got caught. Yeah.
The performance really wasn't that long. Borshev's performance in general was pretty fucking bad.
No, but weakest performance of the night is absolutely Borshev because of the amount of opportunities that he would have had to, figure something out and get out of the, the situations that he was in, and had nothing to, no opposition to come back to anything that Chase was doing. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that. But I mean, I just think that with Menafield, it was like, granted,
he ran headfirst into the cage.
Well, yeah, that was that was something. But I mean, Olberg was put it on him from the jump. I mean, like Olberg was throwing with intention from the first strike that he threw, which I think was definitely you want to talk about the telling things on either side. Menafield not having a game plan to counter what Olberg was coming at him is his version of that. Olberg having the intention and the power from the jump. What I was saying, I think I said it during the watch along, was that I would have liked to have seen that fight go on longer. Not only because it could have been a great fight, but also because I wanted to see what Olberg was going to be able to do later on in the fight if he was coming out with that level of intensity that early. Because it looked like he threw balls to the fucking wall.
Yeah, I mean, it paid out. It didn't last long.
Dividends. Yeah, God, it was a quick one. I mean, 12 seconds. That is, I think they said that's the fourth quickest finish.
7 strikes landed? Jesus, wow. I don't think that's right. That can't be right at all.
I mean, 7 really, really powerful ones will do it, I guess, eh?
Jesus.
But yeah,
that's crazy. We had 2 people. We had one person throw 2 strikes landed, and then we have a person who landed 1 strike in a fight. That's pretty crazy. But
yeah, heavy. Well, so I mean, Carlos Solberg 11-1 now, though. That's when I was talking, I think we were talking about it a little while back about the Taffa brothers and Ty, and I was saying how it's an unfortunate thing that I see in a lot of the Polynesian guys is that they don't have the fundamentals. Perhaps Carlos Solberg, one that bucks that trend. Obviously Max
is from Hawaii or what?
I believe that he is a New Zealand guy. Am I wrong about that? Or is he a City Kickboxing? Yeah, New Zealand. Yeah.
New Zealand. Okay.
So yeah, he's down there doing his thing with City Kickboxing team. So yeah, I mean, trains with the best. I mean, those dudes at City Kickboxing, they've really got a really strong program down there. Graduated some amazing fighters, as we know. Olberg, one of these dudes that could be, be really putting on for him.
Yeah, I kind of agree, especially now that I see that I normally don't pay attention to the divisions while I'm watching the fucking fights normally. But now that I see that it's light heavyweight, that's good. Hey, that's a good class to get your name up in, because there's not that many people there. You can remake the Dominic Reyes fight if you really want to.
I would like that fight.
This dude fought Ihor? What the hell?
Yeah, Jesus, man. Ihor. Yep. Yeah, Ihor. That's yeah. I don't know how much money's gonna be thrown his way anytime in the future, but yeah, no. I mean, a couple of decent wins on the record. Still somewhat early-ish, but I mean, a win over Daun Jung is that's a nice notch. It's Fan and Chikwi. I mean, that's another decent win there. I think, and yeah, I mean, the Dominic Reyes fight got canceled for some weird reason. I don't remember exactly what
I
ended up
think
happening with
probably
that.
because he retired.
Did he end up actually retiring? Retiring?
He's back, but like he had like blood clots. I'm pretty sure, and like the doctors told him, so it was
Oh,
something like that.
okay. Well, I mean, that must have been a little while farther back then because
I know.
this was this year that they were supposed to fight yeah, like in March, that fight was supposed to go down. Um, but yeah, I don't remember exactly all what happened. Maybe maybe there were some issues with that part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever the case may be, because it was Reyes that was the one that was complaining about it. That's how I knew about it. But regardless, I would like to see that fight if he's actually able to still compete. Just also to see if Dominic Reyes still has anything left to kind of mount any kind of comeback after the very rocky road that he's been on post John Jones. But as far as Olberg goes, I mean, kind of sky's the limit, I would say right now, right? I mean, Surgeon 11-1. That's a record that deserves a little bit of respect on the name.
I know, I get it. I mean, if you want to throw him up against somebody, I hate saying Anthony Smith, but I mean, I guess. I mean, fuck it.
They're just gonna keep feeding Anthony Smith guys that should beat him,
Well, I mean, no, literally. I mean, that's the perfect place for the company to make profit. Is just give it. He's active. One, he will pull out a win. It's not like you're gonna see him lose every time. Like he will win sometimes, as we just saw with Petrino. He will sometimes win, but give him Olberg, I guess. Fuck it. I don't mind seeing it. Voice crack. I don't mind seeing Anthony Smith fight because he is a well-rounded fighter. He's just annoying. So I want to see him lose.
Let me ask you one question. This is a brief side note, but I do want to ask it because this is casual brain St. James thinking here. How much do you think Anthony Smith recognizes that he is disliked and plays into it? Do you think there's any element of that, or do you think that he is just, this is how I am, that people are gonna hate me and that's cool?
A little bit of both. Like when he gets on there, I'm sure he's just like talking from the heart. I don't care what anybody says, but I also believe that there's just a wall behind this. Like once the cameras are off, like he just gets up and he's like, "All right, cool. What's for dinner?" Like he doesn't fucking think about the shit that's happening here, like how much I dislike seeing him win. Like that ain't on his mind. Like bro gets up and goes talk to his family. Like it's only when he gets on here and talks about his mind and like how he feels is when I react to it, and he don't give a fuck about that. So probably both in the regard.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. All right, well, we can leave that that little point there. I just wanted to make it because, like I said, he fascinates me. You know what I mean? It's just an interesting, from a human perspective, I'm just very fascinated by that guy. But anyway, yeah, I mean, just to finish up on Olberg, I'm very interested to see what his next matchup is. I would think that he's probably going to be, having a fight that's going to be a little bit more of a make or break. I mean, because now at 11-1, he's starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, we really need to test the metal to a point to see if he is going to be elite or not. It's the fraud check toll for thee.
Well, Petrino was what 11-0, like 10
that I believe that's correct.
It's like it's right in the area for him to get a good matchup.
Yeah, for sure. So if not Anthony Smith, then certainly someone in that same sort of range for sure, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Okay. All right, co-main event.
Oh, brother.
Tough one for you.
I thought my mountain guy was gonna surprise us. So going into it, I knew that he was 1-5 at welterweight. So I knew this. I figured things were gonna change though. So he was already not looking too hot making this weight. Second, I knew that he had 20 submissions. So I was thinking, well, shit, he knows something. Like he can do something on the ground. But after watching them go to the ground and seeing a dude that has 20 submissions, I have they're nobodies. I figured they were maybe somebody's because he also lost by submissions. Like, oh, grapplers. He beat decent grapplers or something. But no, this dude has no ground game whatsoever. And after it was off the feet, he wasn't even looking that good on the feet, to be honest.
At 6'5", compared to Joaquin Buckley's what, 5'9", whatever, 5'8".
Yeah, 5'8". It was
and having nothing.
To see. It was really something to see on the feet because it wasn't like an outclass, which I was hoping it was. Like, Jalen Turner, Bobby Green, just walk out, get mopped real quick, late stoppage, something like that, blah, 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 blah. But Ruziboev got taken down very easily. And I knew Buckley, he's a big dude. Like, even for the weight class, like, he's got a lot of muscle mass. If you get into the grappling stuff with him, he's probably going to manhandle you to some extent. I don't care who you are in the division. Like, it's just the type of dude he is. And seeing Ruziboev go for like a fucking arm triangle, not an arm triangle, an arm bar with like 3 seconds left, like that's when he started throwing his legs up. Like it really made me upset. Like, dog.
Yeah.
Okay, you could have attempted that way long ago. And second, that was your best attempt. Like you didn't even get it off. Like anyway.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say is that like there were a number of times where I think that he made poor choices in the exchanges, and I think that was really an unfortunate showing. Like on top of when you're comparing it to Buckley, who was really sharp. I mean, like this was a really, really good showing for Buckley. I mean, like a full, nice, well-rounded performance, bell-to-bell kind of situation. Again, really like I don't remember a time in the fight where Buckley was in any kind of like serious danger. You know what I mean? Like it really was kind of just, figure out what needs to be done, do it, and then hope your opponent doesn't, counteract you. And he did not get counteracted in any real legitimate sense of the word. So, I mean, a nice overall well-rounded performance for Buckley and a lot of just missed opportunities for Ruziboev.
Unfortunately for Buckley, I'm just gonna go ahead and since I lost money on this, also I'm gonna pull the card as like, bro, you beat a non-ranked opponent. Like, just don't even worry about it. Like, clearly, you were supposed to get it done. You don't get extra points here. No cookies for Buckley.
I'm tasting a little salt in that. That's
no, Buckley is cool.
Salt.
Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm glad that he did get it done. In the hometown, he probably should have been the main event, but I see why he wasn't because again, non-ranked opponent. But
well, so fair enough. But I mean.
Curtis, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, that was that little two stint here. Yeah, this is. But I mean, you're going. I mean, really, aside from the DeCarico loss, I mean, this is a pretty overall decent little set of wins that he's had. He goes on these little stints here. I mean, I like fair enough. Assessment with him being unranked, but Vicente Luque. That got that win. I mean,
but I don't like that matchup as a good
I understand, and I know why. I mean, I understand with the blood clots and all that kind of situation. There's extenuating circumstances with Luque, and he looked so drained in that fight. He could not start in the slightest. So it's not a great representation, but I'm telling you, man. I mean, take Luque out of the picture. Beat the Great White, I mean,
that's what I was actually going to bring that up. Seeing Morano's most recent matchup, if he beat somebody who worked like that, that was maybe a good win
for sure. That Andre Filio, I mean, that's it's still a little bit later on for him, but
I think the most important thing to note is that once he returned to welterweight, he hasn't lost. So is something to come of that. Welterweight, looking at the rank, thinking about let's actually look at the rankings.
Yeah, sure.
That's yeah, I mean, Jeff Neal, Wonderboy, Sean Brady. I mean, he definitely has some competition ahead of him. But I don't think like it's not crazy to think like Joaquin Buckley is outmatched or outclassed by anybody in these rankings. Like he is good.
Yeah, well, and he was jockeying for the Ian Gary fight. I mean, if Colby Covington is going to waffle his way to not making that happen, then I don't see any problem with that fight whatsoever.
Yeah, no, that's not that bad. That would actually be probably pretty good. I know Buckley's probably game for it, but I would think Machado Gary cuts him up on the feet. I don't know. I thought Ruziboev was going to win too, though, guys. So don't listen.
You think so even after the Jeff Neal fight?
Because
the reason I say that though is not that it was a terrible performance by Gary, but more so that it wasn't exactly like a clinic. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people were saying that exact thing going into that fight. Oh, look what he did against Neil Magny. Look how he pieced him up so crazy. Fucking 30-26'd him. All that kind of stuff. Then he goes in against Jeff Neal, and it was just you know, it was not the case, basically, you know, in plain terms. I mean, it was a lot closer than, you know, than people were giving it credit for.
My assessment on that fight, because I will say this, I think Jeff Neal had a very underwhelming performance against Ian Gary.
That's fair.
And if you want to believe that Ian Gary also underperformed, I want to go ahead and pull the card that because he was fighting a lot different than we've ever fucking seen him. Both of their game plans just didn't work out, and they just underperformed on what they were going. Like Ian Machado Gary was looking for the Jeff Neal that he watched tape on. Jeff Neal was trying to come out with some bullshit to catch Ian Gary off guard. Neither of them really met in the middle and had an
yeah, it was one of those. Yeah, it was force meeting force in a way that didn't equal up to either of them really having a decisive, you know, win, you know, in any aspect of it, as you know, aside from the actual decision of the fight. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that when it comes to Buckley versus Gary, if Buckley can keep the movement that he has and get into range well, I mean, like that I think is the real code breaker of Ian Gary, is being able to just get inside on him, which a lot of people just can't, you know, figure it out. He's really good at making sure that doesn't happen. You know, like, you know, love him or hate him, Ian Gary, his range work is really top notch. That is something that is, you know, basically his bread and butter. And I think that it's a solvable puzzle for the right guy. Like, I don't think, you know, I mean, everybody's rooting for Ian Gary's downfall for a lot of different reasons, and, you know, you can debate the merits of that. But the reason that I would like to see Ian Gary face some competition that can figure him out is because I think it is figure outable. You know what I mean? I think he has a puzzle that can be, you know, the elements of which can be figured out.
Well, you're not wrong there, because when I look at Ian Gary, like on the stand up, I don't know about the ground game too much. I don't know about his takedown defense too much, but on the stand up, he's a point guy. He's Adesanya. Like, he's just gonna stay on the outside. He's gonna rack up low kicks. He's gonna jab you. He's gonna point punch you. But other than that, like, but okay. But to your point, like, he's elite at that. Like, it's not like he's some slouch, and it's not like he does this on an average level. Like, he does this with the best of people. And to your point of it's figure outable, Izzy got beat. Izzy's been beat. Like, I mean, it ain't crazy to think Machado's got his time coming, but for right now, he does what he does very, very well. He probably does leg kicks and distance management just as good as the champ of his division right now. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're not too far off on that. But I guess just because we're talking about him, if the Colby fight does happen, what do you think on that?
Well, like I was just saying, I think Machado has similar stand-up skills and range technique as Leon, and Colby, broken foot or not, if you had a broken foot, why the fuck are you in the stand-up the whole time? You should be panic shooting for takedowns if that was the case. So I'm actually confused on, like, that's your foot was broke. Okay, so why the fuck are you letting him kick you in the leg, and why are you kicking? Like, why aren't you anyway? So
yeah, because it was a bunch of bullshit.
Well, that, and it's like the fact that if that was the case and he didn't do that against Leon, he's just gonna get pieced up by Gary, and that's probably why he doesn't want the fight, is because he's gonna be on a 2-fight losing skid after that. Like, and he's on his way out he's already out the picture in everybody else's mind, but maybe he's got some Dana White pool, but. Like,
I don't even understand how he does at this point. I don't know. Like, how does anybody buy, even if you're, you know, look, we don't have to get political about it, but even if you ascribe to the political beliefs that have propelled him into some people's eyes, how do you still fuck with that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, whether or not you believe what he believes and want to root for him or any of that, I mean, after a performance like that against Leon, it's like, how do you even, like, back that in any way? I mean, fucking your boy Trump is walking out on him. I would think everybody else is following suit. I don't know.
It is a very interesting situation, because, like, when the whole thing with Miles Vidal, like the court case and stuff like that, when he came back and instantly got a title shot, my opinion still to this day is like, okay, he's got some dirt on Dana or something. He's got some dirt somewhere that he called for the title shot, at least one of them. And now, I don't know. I don't think he's getting anywhere close to it anymore. If he gets Gary, which he doesn't want, he wants Charles Oliveira, because I think he knows that that's an easier fucking matchup.
Well, yeah.
Charles Oliveira's not moving. Like, he never even said, like, hey, I'm going to welterweight, guys. Like that's never happened. Colby is calling for Charles to move up and fight him. Like what is he doing? I have no idea. It's the weirdest thing ever.
He fucking trying. He's grifting is basically what he's doing. He learned from the best grifters on the planet and is grifting with the best of them. But I mean, really, Colby aside, fuck Colby. But Colby aside, I think that what would be smart for the organization is if that fight doesn't materialize, put Gary up against a guy who is liked. There's your money fight. You know what I mean? Like, put
Yeah.
him up against a fan favorite because everybody is rooting for Gary's downfall at this point. I mean, I think that he's pretty much one of the most universally disliked people in MMA at this point. Um,
Well, if that's what you want to see happen, and people are talking about obviously Shavkat and JDM, we really want that to happen. But if people are saying they need one more matchup in between before we see that one kind of deal, Gary can take either one of those, and I would love to see how that one worked out.
is that what people are saying though? That Jack Della needs one more before he gets Shavkat?
Well, they're just talking about how the Shavkat's injured,
Oh well, I mean,
and then
wait it out, man. I mean,
I agree. I want it to happen, but I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily going to work out this next fight, even though the call out and like the timing probably makes sense because they're both hurt right now. Or like they
yeah, I mean,
both are
it's 3 and
like
5 in a division that's we're basically just waiting on the Bilal Muhammad title shot. I mean, I think it makes sense. If I don't know, I don't know, but either which way, yeah, I think that's that's the move is for Gary to get put up against somebody who is like a fan favorite. And if it is, either one of those guys, that certainly could cover that. You know.
maybe MVP. Not really a fan favorite. I mean, UK favorite. I mean,
Yeah, after his performance against Kevin Holland, I'd love to see that. I think MVP would have a tool set that would at least make it entertaining. I don't know if he would be able to get the win or not, but I think that would be very competitive.
I'd like to see MVP versus Gary before I'd like to see Thompson and MVP.
Yeah, everybody is talking about that fight like it's kind of the fight to make, and I'm just like, I mean, it's not that it's a bad fight. I just think that Wonder Boy is just kind of getting to that point where it's not he ain't hitting. You know what I mean? I like he was already sort of there. The conversation was already trending in that direction. Oh, this is the title. This is my last run at the belt kind of thing. I mean, after the loss that he just took, like I would think that. I mean, it makes sense if you're trying to shoot him up the rankings a little higher. But is 13-9 really that much of a leapfrog if they really want to jump this guy up into the top 5 to get him to a title shot so they could do the UK versus UK thing?
Yeah, and another thing, I mean, I will say this, since I'm calling for the Gary and MVP matchup, we could very easily see how quickly MVP's age like catches up to us. Like Gary's a pretty fast guy. I know MVP's whole thing is like speed kicks and fucking dive in, dive out kind of thing. But like if Gary goes out there and makes MVP look like a fool, it's kind of like, well, he is a 40-year-old man. Like we kind of should have seen this coming. Kevin Holland even said like, he's a lot faster than we thought, but like he's still probably not terribly fast compared to some of the youthful speed that we have. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that after that fight, after the MVP fight, him versus Kevin Holland, I did say that him versus Ian Gary would be, or him versus Colby was, either one of those would be acceptable to me. So I mean, really, I think that any one of those fights, like welterweight in general right now, when you're talking about this level of it, like there are a lot of fights that will be very telling about the level that each of the fighter in it are at that time. You know what I mean? At the current time. So it's like any one of those fights has a whole lot of information packed into it. Whichever one they make, I think, is probably going to be okay. I don't think that I'd really be too mad at any of them. I just think that I would like to see Ian Gary fight somebody that is sort of a little bit more of a favorite just because of the MMA cultural aspect of it. But as far as, just strictly talking about the rankings, the numbers, and, the actual meat and potatoes of the division, I think any one of those matchups makes sense, except for Gilbert Burns, who probably should just take a little time off.
matchup aside, and in ring aside, like Gary is just turning into one of those people that I'm not actually that big of a fan of. Not because of everything else, but like he's becoming one of those negotiators about his contract stuff. It's like I just want to see you fight. I'm not really worried about how long it takes for you to figure out who you're gonna fight and how much you're gonna get paid for the fight. Like, dog, you got to be out there actively for me to be a big fan of you. Like,
For sure.
I
Go
gotta
out
see
there
it.
and do your fucking job, dude. Seriously. Like, I mean, and that I think also dramatically overvalues him in like from the fan perspective in his, he's overvaluing himself is what I'm trying to say. Cuz it's like, dude, you're not one of these guys that's like it almost reminds me of when Henry Cejudo retired. You know what I mean? When it was like, well, I'm not getting the money that I want, so I'm going to retire. It's like, bro, you are dramatically overestimating your pull with the fan base and people actually wanting to see you fight. Everybody, when he retired, was just like, cool, see ya.
No, I actually watched that video more recently because it was on Twitter, like the 1 year anniversary, or not the 1 year anniversary, but the anniversary of when it happened. And I get it was in the Apex, but you could literally tell nobody gave a fuck. Like
Yeah.
nobody in that entire arena, like Dana White's just standing there, but he gave him a thumbs up, like thanks. Like it was the wildest retirement thing ever. Nobody said a word. There was more awkward pauses for him to just like keep rambling. Like it was really fucking bad.
Yeah.
Just yeah,
So I mean, but so it's like you got to know what level you're at, like when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I think Ian Gary, like
know your
he's,
worth.
yeah, no, exactly, know your worth. I mean, like, and also it's like you're going out there and getting wins, but they're not. I mean, the win over Neil Magny was impressive because of the volume, but you didn't finish. The
Yeah.
win over Jeff Neal to me was not overly impressive. Period. It's like you really got to take stock of like exactly where you're standing with all of this stuff. Like go out there and get a win that actually like puts a fucking stamp on it. Then maybe you have a little bit more of a leg to stand on in that at that point. But you're already politicking at this phase of your career. Get out of here, bro.
Yeah, see, we're at the point now where okay, you didn't finish Neil Magny, but you did damn near break his leg or whatever. Now that I saw Mike Mallet fight, if you would have gave Neil Magny an extra round with Ian Gary, I don't know what would happen. I don't know. But Ian Gary is at the point where he's gonna have to start winning against good fucking people. So we're gonna start seeing exactly how good he is, and I do believe he is that good from what I've seen. And the eye test is not lying to me right now. No matter what he says on the mic, no matter how he acts, no matter how many ass cheeks he shows on his fucking story or whatever,
That shit was
like
wild.
in ring, I'm believing it. So I think that he's got a good chance. I mean, next to Gilbert Burns, like between Sean Brady and Gilbert Burns, like Ian Garrity is not a person that looks out of fucking place. Like that looks fine.
You're absolutely correct on that one. Fair enough. All right, that was a very, very long and
Yeah,
windy departure from UFC St. Louis,
Rusev
but
and Buckley.
yeah, yeah. Any final thoughts on that one before we move on to the main event?
I will put money on Rusev again for no reason at all, just because one the size
My man.
the size is a problem. The size is a real problem, especially if he's gonna keep trying to go down to welterweight. I know he's 1-6 in that division now, which is fucking crazy. But I think he's got it, man. I think he can do it, even though his ground game is ass. I may not bet on if he's fighting a total can. If he's fighting a total can, I'll take him.
All right, clip it, ladies and gentlemen. Chase Parton wants to lose more money. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, Rusabov can bounce back from something like that, I would say. But I do think that the record doesn't necessarily indicate the level that he's at currently, and there are some very definite holes that need to be sewn up in the game. Because, like I said, I think that he was just making a couple of unfortunate mistakes, and not even mistakes in the sense of like doing the wrong thing, but not knowing when to do the right thing.
There you go. That's a good point.
Yeah. All right. So to round off the cards, we had the Derek Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento fight. Man, how about it? Derek Lewis still kicking ass after all these years.
Well, okay, so I was streaming with Badger, and he actually said it right after maybe the first round, second round coming. He actually said, like, this is the best form of Derek Lewis that we've seen. And I kind of agree. Derek Lewis did a judo trip. He did an inside trip, took Nascimento down. Whoa, like I was mind blown. he was putting in all the tools. When he before he got the knockout, he tried to go for the flying knee again. It obviously didn't work, but like he's remembering, guys. Like you're seeing it in full effect. The memory is there. Like
The AI
wow.
learning model is continuing the
Exactly.
wheels. Yeah, got
Like
you, got you.
he goes to the ground. Okay, he's there for a little bit, and then you see him stand up, and you're like, holy shit, he did it! Like it's Derek Lewis is really just a class act, guys. And what exactly the finish we were expecting? It took a little longer, and we maybe were kind of getting out of the realm of thinking it was going to happen. But in typical fashion, all you need is a good 1-2 from Derek Lewis, and you just put him to the ground. Like it ain't much more to it, man.
It's true. I mean, you know, Derek Lewis, a lot of these fighters say, you know, one reason that I like, I'll watch the pre-fight lead up stuff, you know, the pre-fight press stuff occasionally just to see what they're saying and, you know, get a basic idea of their approach and that kind of stuff perhaps, but I don't put too much stock into it because every fighter, no matter what, I always think back to TJ Dillashaw coming into the Aljamain Sterling fight saying, oh, you know, this is the best I've ever felt, you know, one of those types of things, knowing that he had a fucking completely fucked up shoulder.
Yeah, he fucked us over on that one.
Fuck TJ Dillashaw, dude. I mean, clip that. But regardless, that's a whole nother tangent. Point of saying that is that every fighter coming into a fight says, this is the best camp I've ever had. I feel the best that I've ever had, yada, yada. Derek Lewis saying that he, you know, is in his prime now. I was like, you know, and that kind of put a little bit of a raised a hair for it with me. I was just like, oh, that's, you know, I don't know about all that. Came in, showed that he absolutely is, you know. Sometimes it is the truth, and Derek Lewis is the truth.
Yeah, I actually still can't believe one. I mean, it's not unbelievable to think the dude who has the most knockouts in history or whatever walks out, gets another knockout. Like heavyweights, the age factor is not really that big of a deal for heavyweights. I mean, obviously if you're 50 years old, which you're clearly not in the league at that point, but Derek Lewis is still out here, 39 years old, man. He's kind of in his
Gonna say,
prime, man.
dude,
Like, Jesus Christ.
nearly
He was
40.
throwing he was throwing head kicks. He was throwing combinations. He was mixing up the combinations. Like I said, he got the inside trip. He was reversing like, bro, Derek Lewis was looking like a king out there. I'm not gonna lie. And then capped it off with exactly what we needed. Knockout, took the shorts off, threw the cup, mooned the crowd, humped the canvas. Like it was crazy. Like I can't tell you how perfect it was.
All that shit was completely fucking wild. I like
Exactly.
hopefully that's the top of all of that, because I think the only thing that is possibly left is going full Monty in the cage. Yeah, and no one needs to see that. But what I want to say about Derek Lewis, based on that performance, where you're saying that he was, you know, out there, you know, looking like the king, he was looking like a mixed martial artist, and that to me, you know, it's so telling with him, because what a lot of people say about Derek Lewis is that he's like the last of the great brawlers. You know what I mean? He comes from a different era of the sport when guys who were just big dudes could come in there and start throwing hands, and it was like effective and did, you know, it got them to where they needed to be. Like, those guys and that style of fighting has dramatically fallen off just because of how fast and far the sport has progressed. You can't have that same, you know, just you see it when we talk about Tai Tuivasa. You see it when we talk about some of these other guys who are just really big. All they want to do is just throw hands, and that's it. If you don't have the rest of the fundamentals, you're not going to make it into the elite levels anymore. It's just a fact. So Derek Lewis really showing a nice evolution for an already historic career. I mean, you know, like Derek Lewis is probably Hall of Fame bound. I mean, really, with the amount of knockouts that he has, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, fucking after he retires, a couple years down after that, we're going to be seeing him, you know, getting his induction. But all of that being said, if you are going to stick around, and we know that he's had a rocky, you know, a couple of patches there. I mean, you know, he's taken some losses. We've seen what happens when he gets overwhelmed sometimes by some of these other guys if he's not sticking to the fundamentals and having that well-rounded style about him. If he does what he needs to do and adapts at this late stage, it is really something remarkable to me.
I remember before the fight, I said it's kind of crazy that this, like, you know, the heavyweight knockout king is like the worst example of mixed martial arts for the sport ever. Like, because all he does is throw, all he does is box. And then when I saw that fight, man, I was actually swayed. I really thought Derek Lewis was out here doing his thing. Like, he did so many good things that made me think, like, man, if this was a young prospect, like, I'd be all over this guy. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it was really a very strong showing. I mean, you know, we were kind of going back and forth as to the merits of Nascimento's skill set. I think that the term decision merchant was thrown out there at one point. So I mean, maybe not exactly like the highest echelon of heavyweight to like showcase like what his current still potential is, what potential is left with Derek Lewis. But a win like that keeps him definitely in the conversation. I mean, I don't know, I think that's even the bigger question now is after a performance like that, knowing that he has that ability still, what do you do with Derek Lewis?
Well, I'm actually confused. Did he retire? Do we know for sure?
No, no, I don't.
He took everything off. I mean,
Well,
he
he took everything off.
yeah, exactly. I
But,
mean,
no, yeah, no. I don't. I mean, he said that he wanted to kind of
take a break kind of deal.
yeah. I mean,
But
reassess, but it didn't seem like he definitely did. When Derek Lewis retires, that's going to be a fucking that's going to be a thing.
gotcha.
He'll
Okay,
be
okay.
getting a fucking Robbie Lawler style send off. I would
Well,
expect.
actually, so speaking of that, I was like, when you asked, like, or when I said like Derek Lewis, it took everything off. It's like Dana White he ain't gonna do shit about that. That the crowd loved it. The showmanship by Derek Lewis. That's exactly what the sport needs. He ain't gonna get no fine. If he does, Dana White is paying it right out of his checkbook in his pocket. He might even write Derek Lewis an extra one for that one. Like, Jesus.
The only guy who didn't enjoy that post-fight celebration was the poor Telemundo reporter that caught his cup.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I remember we were watching that. Me and Vince actually rewinded at that point because, like, I didn't see it when it first happened. Like, I wasn't paying attention as closely. But Vince was like, somebody caught his cup. He threw his cup out. I was like, what? He's like, oh, and somebody caught it. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
no. And this fucking dude, that poor guy from Telemundo, because I saw he had the Telemundo microphone right next to him. And I guess he just didn't know that it was a cup that was coming at his face. But, God, rip that dude.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the point. So yeah, fan favorite. I mean, fan favorite was already. I mean, that's why Derek Lewis got this main event. Let's be fucking clear. I mean, even after the flying knee, I don't even think that if he wasn't as big of a fan favorite, even with a performance like that, he would have gotten a main event off of it. Maybe co-main at this point in his career. But if like the star power of Derek Lewis and the fact that everybody loves him so much, he is a universally loved figure in MMA. I would say. Yeah, so, but that will continue to allow him to kind of dictate the pace a little bit as far as like what he wants to do. But that being said, so okay, maybe rephrase it. Not what do you do with Derek Lewis? What does Derek Lewis do? I guess is the big $1 million question.
I mean, with his skill set, obviously mostly relying on boxing, I don't know why he wouldn't try to do something like. I know BKFC is a little too extreme, maybe. Derek Lewis doesn't seem like the kind of like he'll fight for money, but I don't know if he'll do it to that level. But boxing,
39,
yeah, true. I mean, but like boxing, I mean, Francis went over and he did fine. I think Derek Lewis would go over there and kind of stomp. Really, like Derek Lewis got some good boxing.
Well, I mean, I think that's farther down the road, even though. I mean, I don't think that he's going anywhere from the UFC at the moment. So what what in the UFC does he do?
Honestly, throw anybody you want at him. Like I said, they're just throwing shit at the wall, just giving him main events and giving him people. Like, just keep doing shit like that. Like I said, he's the fan favorite. So like with Denmark, bro, when I was talking to Bloomis about it, he was like, "Oh, I don't really know anybody on this card. I'm just here for the big guys. I'm here for the Black Beast." And I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess in Denmark they love Derek Lewis, but I see why. Like I'm watching it and I see him get a knockout. I see him do the whole shebang, and I'm like. It makes sense why people want to see this dude. Like,
yeah, so just throw, just kind of give him what he wants.
Just throw him.
Yeah. But so I
not
mean,
even what he wants. I mean, it's really what Derek Lewis is fine to just step on and show up. Like it's whatever.
But we're definitely ruling out any kind of run of any sort at this point, right? I mean, he's not challenging for the belt again.
He doesn't even want that. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I
He's
think
just a
that's
money
true.
guy. Not even like a greedy money guy, but like he's like I gotta feed the family type of
Hey,
money guy.
he's
Like
a
I'll
grinder,
just keep
man. Yeah,
getting. Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
he's grinding it out. Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, there is nothing wrong with that. I think that that is also the one thing to always keep in mind. It's like it's a lot. You talk about legacy a lot. People throw that around with who gets the belt, who doesn't hold the belt, all this kind of stuff. Sometimes you just go out there and fight, and that's okay. Just be
Yeah.
okay with it. Be
Well,
grateful that you're getting to see these kinds of performances out of this guy.
and I'm actually like very certain Derek Lewis's contract is probably pretty fucking hefty compared to a lot of other people. He probably makes a good amount of money when he wins. I mean,
Yeah,
excluding the bonuses, even though he probably I don't know who got the bonuses this week,
that's a
but it
good
wasn't the
question. I don't
people.
know.
It was
Did
I remember their names, but it wasn't or I don't remember their names, but it definitely wasn't Esteban, and it definitely wasn't Olberg. Actually, it might have been Olberg.
see if they show it on here. Do they say? Uh, doesn't look like they should. Oh, no, oh yeah. Fight of the night was wow. Trey Waters versus Billy Goff got fight of the night. That's. I mean,
Yeah,
it
and the
was it was
performance of the night, Carlos Ulberg
okay.
and
Fair enough. Yeah,
Diego
I'd say that
Fierro.
those are okay. Actually, yeah. I mean, at least even off of round one for Waters and Goff, I guess you can give it to them. They definitely were laying it all on the line. But yeah, I mean, so regardless of all that kind, I mean, I think that he's just fine. I don't even think money wise is real. Like, yeah, like obviously you need money to live and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think that he's hard up or anything like that to the point that he's fighting out of desperation in that regard. I mean, I think that he's probably doing okay. Yeah, it's really kind of just a matter of what what he wants, what the organization wants, and then I guess what the fans want, right? And what the combination of all three of that is.
Well, and his time is obviously limited now, and there's just no reason to throw him in there with another Jailton Almeida. Like, I mean, unless there's one coming up the ranks that obviously needs to go through a vet, But like, I don't want to see him against no big sloppy wrestler again. Just keep throwing him against somebody who will have a tendency to feel like really dumb and try to stand and trade with him. Because Nascimento, he was doing that with Dontel Mays, and like, okay, you maybe don't respect somebody's power, but like I'm sitting here thinking, it's like you do that for one moment with Derek Lewis, and he's gonna catch you, and you're gonna look real stupid, and exactly what happened. Like it's just how it goes.
All right, so I think it's him versus Sergey Pavlovich. Mark it down, right?
Dude, literally, like, I actually just saw a video of Sergey training in the gym, and it's funny because like he was just punching tires or whatever, and it's like, well, here he goes. He's not even training kicks. There ain't no wrestling clips. There ain't no kicks. There ain't nothing good. It's just you punching a damn bag, and that's probably what you're gonna go out here and do is just try to punch somebody and then get beat up again. Like Cyril Gahn beat the living fuck out of that guy. Like I might go rewatch that fight
Tom
for how
Aspinall.
good Cyril Gahn looked. No, Cyril Gahn. No, you're talking about Sergey. I'm
Sergey
talking about
Pavlovich.
nope, Sergey Spivak, buddy.
Oh, that's what you're talking about, Sergey Spivak.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
talking
no, I was
about
talking
the
about Sergey
small
Pavlovich.
head.
Yeah, okay.
No, Pavlovich might actually he might dust up Derek.
Yeah, that's why I was I was joking
No,
with
but
that one. But
but
oh yeah, Spivak. Yeah, well, he's already made light work of him.
did he? Good. Okay. Well.
Yeah, that was that fight. Wasn't that the one where he came back at the very end? I'm pretty sure that was that fight. I mean, it's years ago now, but
Yeah, probably.
pretty sure that was. Was it? Oh no, it was Volkov. That was the one that he came back at like the very very last second. Yep,
Yeah.
that was that one. Okay, fair enough. But I think he already did him versus. Oh no, he lost to Spivak. Okay, there you go, rematch.
Jesus,
fair
man,
enough.
Oh my God! If you lose to that, Derek, my bad, bro. I actually had more faith in you. The fact you lose in the first round to Spivak.
Well, that was on
and he lost
the
Pavlovich already too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I was joking about the Pavlovich because I mean, Pavlovich, he's actually somewhat decent with the wrestling, from what I understand.
Actually,
but
now that I see that he lost to Ty, you might as well just run that one back. I mean, that would be like a cool fan favorite fight.
How about that? Yeah, have that as the rematch and have that be his retirement fight. That would be a beautiful way to go out.
There's a lot of rematches here. Cyril Gahn can honestly run the rematch since he's fucking running for everybody in the top fucking whatever. That dude's way too far.
Oh my God, poor Tom Aspinall.
Yeah,
guy can't catch a fucking break. Wants to fight so bad, and no one, everybody's running from him.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, so yeah, good fight to close out that card though, and yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to see what Derek Lewis decides he wants to do. If he wants to keep going, I think he'll probably take another one, but. Yeah, and as far as Nascimento, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what, right? I mean, is there anything
Yeah.
more to say
Yeah.
about it?
No,
you know,
not really. I mean, the next time that he shows up, it'll be like the third fight on a prelim, so or like on a
it,
fight night prelim. So
yeah, that's one of those ones that you're gonna like look on years down the line and be like, damn, they main evented that guy.
well, actually, so that just brings up a really good point. If you look to next week, look at the third. This is exactly what the perfect example that I bring up. Look at the third fight on the prelims.
Oh yeah,
Nope,
Themba.
no, not that one. Nope,
Oh, on the
not that one.
prelims.
Prelim.
Sorry.
Look at the third fight. There he is. Bucking
Oh
Boost.
yeah,
That's
Boost.
the perfect example of a dude going from a main event and now he's sitting here as the third fight on the worst fight night card of the year.
Nailed
Like,
it.
that's so
Yeah,
bad.
gets Warley Alves too. That's I actually do like that fight though. But yeah. Anyway, I guess to wrap up on St. Louis before we move on, was there anything else we wanted to say about this card? Any other final thoughts? I mean, pretty good overall, and yeah, I guess that's about it, right?
Yeah, I wish I would have started ranking all the cards, to be honest. Like, I had an idea of doing it, but I figured it would get just a little too messy trying to fucking put them all in an order. But this
Yeah,
wasn't terrible. It obviously wasn't near the bottom with fucking Pfeiffer and Hermanson and what's the other one? Shamil and Rosenstrike and what's the other one? Oh, Song Yadong and Gutierrez. Like it's nothing like that, but it's up there.
sure. Yeah, no, I mean, decent, good card, solid card, I would say. Overall, good, and a couple really nice performances, couple good fights on there. All is well in MMA world. All right, so you want to do a little bit of a quick preview of
Yeah,
this?
we can look ahead a little bit. There's not too much here though. Like
Yeah,
not many people that I would know at least. Like I said, like Tim Elliott, Tatsuro got canceled, and now they're moving
that's
him around. Like
unfortunate.
fucking,
Yeah,
they don't know what's going on.
that sucks.
Emily Ducote, I'm pretty sure I know the name, but when I look at pictures of her and look at the name she's fought, like I swear I don't know who the hell she is. So I can't
Yeah,
really say anybody on this card.
fair enough. I know her by name. I'd have to go back and do some deeper diving to to really have any like definitive opinion. I know Vanessa Demopoulos because she's the one that always jumps into the arms of the ring. The reporter who's interviewing her, the ex stripper. Nothing to do with her fighting, but that's how I know her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there really is too much to do like a case by case breakdown on. Because you look at the main card real quick.
Thembo, I mean, Themba Garimbo.
Oh
You know about
yeah.
him?
Oh yeah, sure. He's that's the Rocks boy, right?
Yeah, so I mean, he got like a knockout last fight, so we obviously haven't seen like him tested yet. But I just this is one of those guys that I would put money on just for like the stigma and the story and everything like that. But
Oh, his
do I
story is
really
great. Yeah,
believe- Do I really believe that he has the skill set to compete? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of it. So like, could be good, could be bad. He could go get smoked. I have really no clue.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and Ramirez Bramej is that? I don't know if I know him. It's another one that I might have seen him fight and don't remember off the top of my head.
Nope. Looks like a debut.
Yeah, could very okay. So maybe one of these dudes who's surging outside of the UFC and making a name for himself here. I mean, coming in hot on on the card. I mean, that's pretty high up to be making a debut. So obviously something to keep an eye on.
With that name.
Yeah.
From Kosovo. Where the hell is that?
From Kosovo, yo, really? I don't know. Let's shit.
In Central Eastern Europe, North Macedonia.
Oh yeah, I mean that's one of those Eastern Bloc kind of places.
Interesting. Huh.
They had that,
and then Themba, he's from
situation.
Where's he from? From Africa country, right?
Yeah, he is the African dude who came over with 20 bucks in his pocket. Oh, okay, yeah, Zimbabwe.
Yep, and then got a house bought to him by The Rock.
Yeah, right. Yeah, came over with 20 bucks in his pocket, was sleeping on the couch. It's a great story for sure, absolutely. I mean, and getting wins, so can't take those away from him. I mean, he's deserving of at least getting the shot that he's getting. So
One thing I will say about him though, just to make a conversation out of it, he's one of these people that show up to the UFC and they're probably not fighting at the weight class that they should be. Like
Well,
because
looking
they're
at
so
oh, you
they
talking about
haven't
Themba?
been eating like you could tell like they're yeah, like you could tell like okay, so Connor's a good example. When he showed up, he was clearly not full to his like frame yet. Like and he was probably fighting at where he should be. Themba's another dude where he's like I feel he's gonna like sprout up and be a bigger fucking fighter
Hey, six
very
one. I mean,
soon.
yeah, 6'1" fighting at welterweight.
Now that he's got the money to well, because like look at Chase. Like now Chase filled out his frame and like you could tell he's been eating good. Themba
Yeah.
will be another one of those dudes that gets super buff and like and you could see the genetics come through and you're like, whoa, shit! Like this dude was like a skinny guy from Zimbabwe like last year, kind of
Yeah,
deal.
for sure, for sure. I mean, the record's okay. I mean, it's I guess we'll just have to see what happens in the fight. But I was looking at his opponent's record here, and I mean, this isn't exactly. I guess I must have seen him fight a couple of times. I'm sure I've seen all these cards. I don't necessarily remember, him fighting Court McGee. I mean,
Oh,
like
I actually thought Themba was. I thought his last fight was his first fight. That's actually kind of crazy.
yeah, no, I mean, Thimba's been around for a little minute. I mean, it's early still, but because yeah, he's
Huh?
this
Jesus, never mind. Well,
his
either way.
yeah AJ Fletcher lost. That was AJ Fletcher is another one that's kind of not bad by any stretch, but still kind of under in that secondary category. And then I mean he's only got
Right.
these two wins. Talking about Themba here, so yeah, I don't know really what to make of all of that. I mean because this as I said, I obviously I've seen this guy before, and I'm not immediately recalling it, so
Yeah.
maybe just didn't stand out that much in my mind. But yeah, again, like I
Okay.
said, I don't really have much more to say about it.
Yeah, that's I
But
mean, that's most people on this card. It's just not much to say about them. Just
yeah, well, then I guess we'll just have to wait and see what all transpires. Unfortunately, just as a general note to anybody who might be watching, I will not be able to watch live. I am terribly upset about this. Trust me, I would much rather be watching live than going to where I'm going to be going. But I will be doing a makeup watch along stream on Sunday, so I'm gonna have to mute the Discord for the day and try to keep myself off of social media for a couple hours to get back on and do the watch along. But I'll do a makeup watch along to get my actual reactions, and of course, me and Chase will probably come back on Monday and break it all down for you as we have done tonight. Anything else you want to talk about tonight, man? Is any other MMA related stuff that we need to go over? Any other burning controversies or interesting tidbits?
nah, we're good, man. It was another successful week, of course.
Absolutely, yes. Another good one. Broke down this card pretty well, I would say. The Fight Night St. Louis card that just occurred. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Much appreciated to everybody who is watching out there. We'll figure out the whole streaming situation with Twitch and any of the other platforms that we're having problems. We're still figuring out all of the technical stuff as we go along because there's always hurdles to go over as we continue on down this road. But we appreciate you hanging out with us. Thank you so very much for doing so. And I guess we will see you in the next stream, y'all. Chase, where can they find you?
Oh shit, still not ready. Still have no idea.
Every week. I'm going to do it to you every week.
Yeah, I know. I'll get there one day, man. One day I'll be very accessible.
At least plug your Twitter.
Oh, Creative Partin, Partin. It should be pretty hidden, most likely. But if you find it, I'll follow you back, most likely.
There you go. Find him at Creative Partin on Twitter. At YAMMA Show everywhere. Pretty much cross platforms at YAMMA Show, except for TikTok. Fuck them, they banned me. Yeah, at Yamma Show. Subscribe on YouTube if you are not already subscribed. A new episode just came out a couple of days ago. We will be back with more content coming out soon as far as videos and live streams, all of that good stuff. At Thinker St. James for my personal channels as well. If you want to check me out on social media, holler at your boy. That'll be it for this week, everybody. Thank you very much for hanging with us. Fight on, y'all.